What if Naruto started new life and got big harem part 1? This should be here. The young boy, about 15 years old, said softly as he pushed a book onto the shelf where it was supposedly placed after someone stupidly placed it in the wrong place. Students these days, the boy muttered as he shook his head in disappointment. 3 years. It has been 3 years since he was kicked out of the ninja program after he failed the 3rd time in graduate test. It was saddening, but at the end of the day, he refused to stay holed up in his apartment and decided to search for a job. He got accepted as Konoha's librarian. The pay is nice, the books are nice to read to spend the time, and the ambus that comes don't hate him like the rest of Konoha's civilians. He got fed up with those people already by now. From the edge of his eyes, Naruto saw something glisten, and with a small sound of curiosity, Naruto took a rather thin book from its shelf. The glisten came from the glitter sticking on the book side. Someone must have read the book with some glitter in hand, and thus the book now has it too. Oh well, small problem. Oh, what's this? Legends in Konoha. Naruto read the cover aloud with one eyebrow raised. The book got his curiosity now. 3. Leroy Wright, it'll remember the shelf's number for this book 4. Now, after Naruto read the shelf's number, he nodded and walked to his desk to start his read. On the book, HAHAHA, that's funny. A few hours passed just like that, and at the end of the book, Naruto read the last legend in Konoha. The legend of the Orb of Wishes, said to be able to fulfill anything you desire, be it wealth, power, or anything you could imagine. But there is a catch. The wish will be fulfilled will be far from anything you thought at first. Say, for example, you wished for something like this. I wish I had 1,000,000 Ryo in my possession. Thus, the orb will turn the wheel of fate and make you have 1,000,000 Ryo in the past. It was funny, honestly, and even if you wished for something normal like, I wish I am taller than my friends, then the orb will grant you a pair of legs that make you stand taller than anyone else. It was funny, as if the orb itself was left there by some kind of a prankster, a powerful prankster, but still a prankster at the end of the day. Anyway, wish after wish, failure after failure. And now, no one wants to do anything with the Orb of Wishes anymore. That was a good read, Naruto said softly with a small smile of sadness on his face as he closed the book in his hands and placed it on top of his desk. Here's no one came to the library once again. The people who came to the library ever since he took over the job are only a few ambus, and the academy students that were forced by their teacher to study more. And maybe I should go to this orb tomorrow to get a wish granted. Naruto just did light-heartedly with a soft smile on his lips. And again, from what he could see from the book's explanation, most of the wishes granted were harmless to the washer. Yes, it is somewhat funny, but all of those were harmless in the end. After all, he just wants some friends. What harm can it do? Present, he regrets his decision. That was what crossed Naruto thought the moment he woke up with nothing but pain all over his body. Ugh. But the groaned, Naruto tried to move his body, only to get another jolt of unimaginable pain through his whole body. Something that made him bit his lips to resist his urge to scream in pain. Now knowing any move is impossible to do, Naruto simply opened his eyes and marveled at the side. In front of him, it was a crater, large enough that it can be called as another training ground, and deep enough that even the whole Hokage building can be put inside with nothing but ease. What happened, you ask? Well, the orb he found exploded after he said his wish. DFFT. Ha ha ha. Naruto laughed hard, ignoring his whole body that currently feels nothing but pain. Why? Simply because the pain he feels in his heart is much more painful than his body could ever give. I want to have friends. I want the people to stop looking at me with glares. I just want that, so please grant my wish. It was a heartfelt wish, one that he put every hope he can muster, but was a wish born from his years of loneliness. Of course, Naruto expected the wish to fail, as the orb was known to prank all people, but he thought that even if he failed to get some friends, he would at least get one friend. One friend, it's all he ever wants. And instead of answering him, the orb exploded right in front of his face and threw him against so many trees and broke some of his bones. Ha! Even the orb said to be able to grant any wish, cannot fulfill his greatest wish. So unfortunate. But in minutes, Naruto's enhanced self-healing repaired all of the damage done to his body. Bones mended, tissues repaired, and even his stamina, slowly recovering. But he still lay there, eyes staring at nothing after he stopped his crazed laugh. I found him. Hurry. He needs a treatment. That voice. Pat. Yeah, that voice should be one of his Ambus acquaintances, and the one who guarded him from the shadow years ago before he failed the academy exam. He never had thought he would meet her again. And why does her voice seem as if in panic? After all, he has just gone from the village for an hour at best. It should warrant any search party. Also, what did she mean by him needing treatment? These kinds of wounds, Cat should have known such wounds won't be enough to endanger his life. Strange. Just as he thought like this, Cat herself appears in front of him and kneels on one knee, checking him with obvious worries in her movement. Naruto, are you alright? Does it hurt somewhere? From what he remembers, he wasn't that close to Cat. And in the past, she usually called him with Uzumaki-sense suffix, and never show any affection whatsoever. They had a professional relationship, but changed. His mouth opened, but no sound came out whatsoever, simply because he didn't know what to say in such a situation. Chess, very strange today. Medic, hurry up. Naruto is in critical condition right now, she said suddenly toward her earpiece, panicking, developing her voice after she saw him move his mouth without any sound coming out. More startled than anything else, Naruto kept his silent eyes staring at the cat-masked Anbu with nothing but wonder in his eyes. Truly, Cat looks far more different than usual. Just as Naruto wanted to say something, white blurs past his side as 10 or so ninja medics appears in front of him. Obviously, they were the ones who were called by Anbu Cat. Wait, no, fair, not normal ninja medics. At sigil on their white robes, all of them is Joan in ninja medics. And for some reason, all of them are Kanwichi. And just like Cat, the moment they saw his condition, they immediately tend to his wounds, circling him in the middle of 10 Kanwiches. One even clasped a breathing mask on his mouth and nose, while the rest of the 10 put their glowing green hands around every part of his body to heal him, despite all of his wounds already in the middle of recovering even without such a thing. But still blush overtook his face the moment Naruto realized his position. But then again, being a young teen of 15 years old, Naruto is old enough to know about the burden B. And right now, being circled by 10 women, each clad in medical attire that hides little of their figures, Naruto really can't help but blush. Wrong thing to do. His heartbeat is increasing. His breath is also getting ragged. We need to give him CPR. Wait, what? CPR, isn't that? Naruto's mind turned blank for a few seconds, as the women around him began to show such unnatural worries for his well-being. They'll do it. Before Naruto can make out just what was happening, Kanwis kneels on one knee in front of him once again, this time without her mask on. Oh, gorgeous and mature face. Long purple tresses that look as silky as silk itself. Her head, pouty full lips that are already wet after she licked it with her tongue. And lastly, her eyes. Oh, her eyes captured Naruto's attention almost immediately with her glare. And no, it's not a glare of hate. Her brown pair of eyes stared at him with nothing but his eyes, so thick that he could be lost and drown in it. It made Naruto gulp for a second. But before he can say anything, unmasked Cat already took his mask off and leaned her tilted face forward, hands already secured behind his head. And just like that, red rosy lips landed right on his lips. Their softness along with you guys' grape scent soon cut off Naruto's brain circuit as his face went from pink to crimson. Thus Naruto faints later. Naruto woke up with another headache, though when he saw the white ceiling, he immediately realized that he was in the hospital room. But happened. He remembers going to the Orb of Wish in the Forest of Death and Explosion then. The kiss from one of the most gorgeous women he even sees. Blush once again took over Naruto's face. But he shook his head from such imagination. That must be a dream, right? There's simply no way Caddy had known as one of the coldest women in Konoha suddenly kissed him out of the blue just like that. A good, you're awake now. Naruto-kun, are you feeling all right? The warm, mature voice filled with worries hit Naruto's eardrums, something that startled him for a brief second. But when he turned his face to his right, the direction where the sound came from, Naruto's blush immediately deepens. No, huge. That was the thought that crossed his mind the moment Naruto caught an impressive sight of huge pair of breasts, clad in nothing but a gray kimono-style blouse with no sleeves. From the fact he saw something poking, Naruto is pretty sure the woman wears nothing underneath her blouse. I am all right. Thank you for asking. Naruto answered with a shudder and blush on his face. Once again, never see someone as gorgeous and voluptuous as the blonde woman currently checking on his condition. Heard his answer, the woman let out a small smile and wrote something on her note. And once she finished with this, she turned her face toward a man. Her eyes, they charmed Naruto almost instantly. Just like cat, deep in her eyes, Naruto sees nothing but a desire for him. But essentially, the woman licked her lips for a few seconds, an act that made Naruto shiver, with a pleasant feeling. Next time, make sure you tell your private guards where you are going. You don't know how much trouble you caused for Konoha after they lost sight of you after 5 minutes. Naruto's lips opened, but they closed once again not long after. Private guards, and said guards lost composure after they lost sight of him for a simple 5 minutes. What would happen, really? I am sorry for the trouble. Naruto doesn't understand anything, but for some reason, deep down he knows that if he were to ask it would make everything much more complicated. These women medics and buck guards and this woman in front of him, they became panicked. When they see little wounds on his body, they lost their composure after they lost sight of him. After 5 minutes, if he were to ask any question, has afraid they would do something outrageous. Ahaha, has softly, the woman laughed. Her face leaned down until her nose touched Naruto's, an act that made Naruto unconsciously put his hands on her shoulders. Though no matter how hard he tried to push her, the woman just won't budge. You're not giving me trouble at all. My dear, just make sure to free a day, so I can take you out on a date. Okay. Jew. As if she doesn't feel any pressure from his hands, the woman kissed him right on the lips for a brief second. And, after that, she leaned back her face and stood once again with a rather big smile on her face, seemingly pretty happy after she kissed him. The date. Naruto shuddered, mind still reeling after the chaste kiss the woman gave him, and the fact she asked him out on a date, despite he is yet to know her name. Not knowing what was crossing his mind, the woman with huge pair of breasts nodded happily. Of course, there is no one worthier than me. Tsunade send you the 5th Hokage to date someone as desirable as you. After all, wait, what? Tsunade send you as in one of the 3 legendary ninjas. Tsunade send you. What did she mean by, she is the 5th Hokage? Where was the 3rd? And what does she mean by her sentence? No one worthier than me to date you, no matter how he tried to think. Isn't the woman putting him on a pedestal with that sentence? It is as if he wants, he could even reject her with nothing but ease. Infused, shocked, and definitely reeled, Naruto can only turn silent and nodded with a slight smile on his face, trying his best to look polite in front of the definitely powerful Kunoichi in front of him, though he immediately realizes it was the wrong thing to do because the woman's eyes suddenly turn glazed as she stares at him with hunger in her orbs. She walked to his side then. One hand went to his face where she started to caress his cheek with gentleness and a loving manner, while her other hand went to the top of her blouse, and was in the middle of lowering it, but wide eyes Naruto can only stare. So cute, I guess I should take my payment right here, right now. Bam. Tsunade-sama. The door left unhinged as another beautiful woman clad in black kimono came in with glares on her face and said glares. Intensity increases when the woman saw what the blonde Hokage was trying to do before she came. Seeing the woman, Tsunade Senju let out a small sigh. Geez, Sherzuan, why can't you just give Me a minute with Naruto-kan here? If you do, I could even die and be happy with it with nothing but a dreamy expression on her beautiful face. Tsunade stares at Naruto and licked her lips, something that made Naruto's blush get red or so. Why don't you go away for now? No, I won't let you touch Naruto-sama without proper payment and booking. Hest not someone you can touch so freely. The You stupid disciple for a small second. Tsunade narrowed her eyes at the woman clad in black kimono, but after that, she in the end gives up. Hands immediately went to her blouse to fix it. Alright, stop looking at me with that. Layer anyway, I checked everything and there should be no problem with Naruto. As for the payment, I want a full day date with him, please book me for it. As for the day, any day is good, I could even cancel all of my planning if it is to spend a day on a date with him. After the fifth Hokage said this, she went to the edge of the room and took a grass-green Hiyori and immediately used it. Hearing what her former mentor said, the woman named Shirzuan took a small note from her pocket and flipped the papers until she found an unused paper sheet. Thus she nodded while writing something. Alright, you will have your date with him 3 months from now on then, but that's far quicker than what I expected. With a happy smile on her face, Tsunade walked to the broken door to exit the room though. Before she can fully walk out, she turned her face toward Naruto with a seductive smile that succeeded to make him feel flustered. Then I hope you have a good day, my dear. He'll see you on our date 3 months from now on. Still confused, but knowing that giving the woman a smile will be bad for his heart, Naruto merely nodded politely at the so-called fifth Hokage, and after he did, the fifth Hokage disappeared as she walked out of the hospital room, leaving Naruto all alone with this new woman named Shirzuan. Fortunately for him, he doesn't need to break the ice, as the woman regally took a seat beside him with a note in her hands, and on her face a warm, loving smile can be seen. Firstly, some of you cover the door, but first. Naruto was confused when Shirzuan said something to the innocent-looking edge of the room, but he got his answer the moment several female ambus appears and quickly stand in front of the destroyed door covering the side of the room from the outside. Naruto gulped slightly. Seeing this, he didn't even sense the Marla, his Umbu guards that Tsunade talked about. If yes, then they're impressive. Secondly, Naruto-sama, is there something you want to eat to fill your stomach? Unnervous and flustered in front of such a beautiful woman that currently staring at him with affection, Naruto blushed a little, but still, our ramen please. You heard him but once. Often to her palm, Shirzuan looked unfazed as a fast black blur suddenly bypassed her toward the exit. After a feminine voice was heard from out of nowhere though for Naruto. He widens his eyes. There was another hidden umbu that him the woman named Shirzuan coughed against her palm once again, an act that got Naruto's attention. With everything's done, is there any other thing you want before we start reading your schedule? Naruto-sama, for a small second Naruto almost wanted to ask what schedule. Fortunately, he caught himself before he can look suspicious in front of this woman that for some reason acted as if she were his manager or something like that. Maybe she is. After the orb of wish exploded, everything just seems strange to him after all. For now he needs information, and no, that's all I need. You can start by your will, Naruto-sama. Then they'll start the meeting with the fire daimyo, followed by a week of days off the night date with a wealthy merchant that lives in a wagacre, followed by a week of days off the time with the clan head of the Hyuga clan, followed by a week of days off. Important schedule after important schedule. Naruto heard every single of them with nothing but focus in his eyes, and when Shirzuan finished treating the last schedule, which is his date with soon 3 months from now on, Naruto can only sweat dropped each schedule. They seem very important though. As for his sweat drop, it is simply because of his inner question after each schedule. I got a week of days off. It doesn't sound very professional, and for some reason it also made him look like some kind of big shot. Wait, is he perhaps a big shot? Let's try something for now. Shirzuan, see, can you cancel some plans for this month? There was no shock or anger in her eyes the moment Shirzuan heard his words. Hell, there was a telltale of a smile on her face, as if she was expecting him to say such a thing. Of course, Naruto-sama, then let's cancel the meeting with Fire Daimyo in the capital and the date with a merchant in a wagacre, and considering ya are pretty close with Hanada-sama, I think you would like to attend. Yes, wait, what, just like that? And what does she mean by Hanada? Isn't the schedule for him to attend a tea time with Hyuga's clan head? Wait, Onada is the current clan head. Okay, he didn't expect that like at all, but still, is it really okay to cancel the meeting with the Fire Daimyo? Naruto asked with a rather worried tone, though hearing the Shirzuan merely let out a small smile. Of course, one of your suitors, Yakumo Kurama, once tried to court you with all of the Kurama. But you rejected her. From what I have heard, she's currently storming to the capital with her army to overthrow the current fire daimyo. In pretty sure a week or so from now on she would try her chance to court you again after she become the next fire daimyo. Boy trying to overthrow the ruler of the whole fire country. Isn't that a very serious crime? And why does Shirzuen sound so sure that this Yakumo Kurama going to win against the fire daimyo's army? His head hurt. Fortunately, before he can delve so deep into the strangeness he found his life into, Naruto's nostril got hit by a familiar scent of pork ramen ramen. And later, still laying on his hospital bed, Naruto is reading a rather thick book with nothing but focus on his face. Well, not really the previous bed after the hospital head medic and Shirzuen refused to release him. Despite his full recovery, they immediately thought it is him not having enough comfort. And after that, everything was like a blur to him. The latest television was installed full with some newest game consoles that he could play on alone. The VIP bed, soft and fluffy enough for most people, was replaced by a very high-class bedding complete with the highest class ilk bed sheet covering. Said bedding, the bed was so soft that Naruto will have slept the moment his head hit it. If not for his burning curiosity, this world, he really wants to know what makes him special in these women's eyes. Hell, one woman named Yakumo Kurama is waging war against a capital to get his hand in marriage. Thus, right now Naruto is reading a book titled Common Sense on its cover. And what he found out is really out of his expectation. This world, just like his world, is pretty much similar with males and females, and all he thought they didn't have males at first. Seeing he is yet to meet one, but one thing that differentiates them is one thing: males and females here hardly have any feelings for each other, unlike his world, where someone like Sun 8 is a perfect example of a beautiful woman. In this world, her looks mean nothing to the male population, and, of course, vice versa, except for me. That is, in this world where every female has a chance to become as strong as a monster, he alone is attractive in their eyes. From what he could glean from Shirzuen, no female could explain it, but to her his look just feels right in a mysterious sense that woke her locked lust and love feelings. She and millions of other females in this world thinking like this. Naruto gets a blush covering his whole cheeks at a quick rate, but nonetheless a smile of happiness cannot be hidden from his face when he said his wish to the orb of wish. Such a thing like this was not among the things he expected could happen, but now, truly understanding this world, he can't help but be happy. Sure, he didn't actually gain any friends, but here he is wanted. Here no one will give him a hateful glare, and for him this is more than enough. After he put the thick book on the edge of the bed, Naruto took the soft white pillow and hugged it into his chest, eyes tearing at his manager that currently sleeping on a sofa. Unlike Cat and Sun 8, Naruto saw more familial warmth in Shirzuen's eyes. The woman clad in black kimono desires him, and just like the others she wants him. But at the same time, in her eyes, he was like a little brother she probably never had. Stealing his resolve, Naruto climbed off of the bed and slowly walked toward the sleeping Shirzuen, until he was right beside her, face as red as a tomato. As Shirzuen, "Are you awake?" Naruto said as he poked the woman a little hesitantly, and maybe because she was a ninja the reaction was quick. As Shirzuen's eyes slowly turned half-lit as she opened them, seemingly still in a very sleepy state. "Naruto-sama, is there anything I could help you with?" Shuffles shyly, Naruto poked his index fingers together as he tried to speak, but despite his best, he can't help but stare at the woman's cleavage that can be seen after her kimono loosened. After a small movement she made, Shuffles. Naruto gulped down when the woman moved once again, loosening her kimono even more than before, and now showing a large amount of her cleavage. He won't lie, here has getting hard just from staring at Shirzuen's cleavage alone. I want to sleep with you. See, can I do fuff you to think Naruto-sama would want to sleep with me? Such a nice dream, the woman suddenly said. I still half lit it, and when Naruto heard her words he blinked a few times. She thinks she's dreaming seriously. Boo the four. Naruto can't say anything. The woman was quick to pull him roughly and put her between the sofa's backrest and her body, face buried deep in the woman's cleavage, hands restricted by her embrace, and legs cannot move because Shirzuen already wrapped her legs around him. Naruto's eyes widen as his face explodes with red blushes of tomato mhmen, but such a position Naruto can only let out a muffled scream, one that isn't that loud, simply because Shirzuen's large breasts easily muffled such a thing. Nonetheless, after he let out his scream while looking up at Shirzuen, that seemingly Already back to sleep, the woman in question seems to be happy as a small smile can be seen on her lips shuffles, and then she moves again, this time pressing her whole body closer to the sofa's back. Rest, something that makes Naruto, that currently in the middle of this, blushes even more than before. He is being choked by Shizune's mature scent tinted with vanilla perfume. Naruto-sama. It was then the woman suddenly moaned in her sleep, all the while pulling his body much closer to her. One of her hands slipped into his pants and grabbed his buttock, squeezing it roughly, and then she began to hump his waist. Her rather warm groin alone is enough for Naruto to realize just what kind of dream the woman is currently having. This woman is molesting him both outside and inside her dream. Red-faced, in the end Naruto fainted from too much stimulation happening, leaving the sleeping woman to play with his body as she pleased. He won't lie, but being molested by a woman that is very beautiful in his eyes, it feels very stimulating. But Naruto opened his eyes in the morning. He can't help but to sweat dropped, seeing so many box gifts stacking on top of each other at the edge of the room. Whose boxes are those? Walk to the stack of gifts. Naruto took one small box with a little note on top of it, and he immediately sweat dropped. The writing, it was beautiful, so beautiful that he cannot read some part of it, but from the part he could read he realized that the box is a gift from a female merchant that live in eastern district of Konoha. For him, the get well gift that is these. He just got a few small wounds, and these many boxes is the first sight he sees in the morning. He just still cannot comprehend just how desirable he is in the eyes of the female population in this world, and if he can be honest with himself, thinking about it alone is enough for him to blush in embarrassment at him. Naruto-sama, I've sorted the other get well gifts you got and put it in your house's storage. The familiar voice of his manager Shizune hit Naruto's eardrums after he put back the small gift on top of other gifts very carefully. It might be small, but considering what he had seen yesterday, it might hold something very expensive more, so it was a gift for him. He never had any gift from anyone throughout his life. Thank you, Shizune, Naruto said to his manager with a red face. Last night incident, for some reason Shizune still looked normal even after she molested his body for a full night, though she muttered something about regret and not fully awake or something like that. She confused him after she heard his thanks. Shizune clasped her sleeve together and bowed gracefully, seemingly very happy after she said thanks. Of course. Naruto-sama, will you spend your time to play your private guards? Bought some new games you haven't played before yesterday, and pretty sure you'd like to try these. A beautiful woman with jet black hair said after she walked to the television and took out several game cartridges, and seeing such things Naruto gulped down his saliva and desire. What hesitine that never touch any game, thank you very much, but still no, I would like to go to the library today. Even though in this world he worked as something like noble thing, the date things are more like he accepting a hangout invite from some women that interested on him. Library is still the place where he worked for 3 years. Since his failed attempt to become a ninja in the library, he would always feel at home. Plus, he was still a few questions about this strange world he would like to get answered. And books could be his problem solver in such situation. Borite. Naruto blinked a few times when the woman quickly accepted his demand, when just yesterday she was forcing him to stay in this room. Ha, strange. Then I shall make sure everything's ready for your departure. Ha, departure. The library is like just 300 meters away from the hospital, right? What things he would need just to move from the hospital to the building 300 meters away. Oh well, let's just stay silent for now. From the window on the hospital second floor where his room is located, Naruto sweat dropped when he saw 100 or so Lee Kanajichi lining up in front of the building, each clad in professional ambush attire. Though instead of different animal, the masks they don in that of a fox with a kanji for woman in the mask's forehead, and in the middle of this lining up army a regal golden wagon could be seen being carried by 4 slightly muscular women. Even from this position Naruto know those goals is probably real. He doesn't know what to say. This world is getting stranger and stranger by each minute, but the good part is has liking this world more and more compared to the world where he came from. After all, what kind of man he would be if he dosed like the fact all women in the world is desiring him. The crazy man. That's what. Naruto-sama, your attire's ready. Naruto turned his head when he heard Shizune's voice from the door direction, and when he did his sweat drop got bigger simply because she was holding several layers of kimono for a noble in her hands. May I have the honor to change your clothes for a few seconds? Naruto did not answer, his eyes still stuck on the thick layers of kimono and Shirzuan's hands with trepidation that doesn't seem light at all. No thanks, I just think normal clothes would be fine, Naruto said in the end while scratching the back of his head. Nervously, it's one thing to be treated like a noble or some kind big shot, but it is another thing if you must use such thick clothes just to go to the library a few hundred meters away from his current location. Thank you very much, but no, just no. For the first time since he met her, Naruto saw shock in Shirzuan's eyes. Did he say something wrong? But Naruto-sama, what is the meaning of my life if I don't change your clothes today? The question, it was funny if Naruto can be honest, but seeing Shirzuan's eyes, Naruto is pretty sure the woman was currently broken, and it's not a joke. She's broken just because he refused to change his clothes. I didn't say anything about you not changing my clothes. I just said I would like normal clothes for today, just like a light that switched on. Life returned to Shirzuan's eyes the moment she heard his words, and gracefully she bowed down a little with a soft professional smile on her face. Then I shall search for more normal clothes for you to wear today, Naruto-sama. Please excuse me, the woman said softly, then turned around and walked away from the room with nothing but professionality in her steps. One wouldn't have believed it if he were to tell them such professional-looking woman broke a few seconds just because he said something normal to his own ears. Thinking like this, Naruto let out a sigh that was shocking. From what he could see, his words and action hold too much weight. Is he really that big shoot? For all intent, Naruto, one who had lived his life with nothing but a small apartment and so little amount of money, just cannot picture it. He just can't picture himself can get any food just by ordering someone to get it. He just can't picture himself get his attire changed by someone else, and he just can't picture he is so desired by all female population in the world, so much that one even waging war against a daimyo's army just to get a chance to get his attention. The acid is happening, but his mind's still not fully catching up. He really needs some alone time right now. Later felt that was intense, Naruto said with a pair of shaken eyes. After here, each the safety of the golden wagon, where he immediately took his seat on the soft and fluffy sofa. The cross of him, Shirzuan, is looking at the glass window covered by crimson curtain with a frown on her face. Yes, that was more intense than usual. Crowded seems after your visit to the library. You cannot go back to the hospital, Naruto-sama. Your safety is no longer guaranteed in such a place. I suggest we go back to your house in the middle of your district. Absent-mindedly, Naruto merely nodded as he lay his back against the soft material of the sofa's backrest. When he walked out from the hospital, Naruto expected many things, but he never expected hundreds of females lining up just to see him, some even acting like someone who were high and drug crazy. That was what crossed his mind when Naruto saw hundreds of women pushing and hurting each other just to get closer to him. Fortunately, he was circled by a lead ambush that guaranteed his safety. That and the hundred of guards that came along with the wagon also helped to push the crowd away from his location. Remembered the faces of those women screaming his name for a few seconds. Naruto's whole body shivered in fear. It is one thing to see one, two, or some women looking at him with desires in their eyes, the worst that could happen, probably only him getting flustered, but hundreds of them and their eyes, that was no longer desires. Once again, Naruto's whole body shivered in fear. The way those women looking at him, it is like dogs who have been starving and thirsty for life, only to see a small oasis that is him, and the oasis, it is just a small oasis that could only fill a few stomachs. Another thing that made them crazy enough to hurt other women around them. And such sight, it's making him afraid. Soft warmness and love fills Naruto when Shirzuan silently went to his side and pull him closer and embracing him into her chest, all the while one of her hands already secured on his waist while her other hand running through his hair and acted slowly calming him down. Of course, Lush still appears on Naruto's face. Don't be afraid, Naruto-sama, I'll protect you. Why yeah, thank you, Shirzuan blustered. Naruto can only hide his face on Shirzuan's nape, inhaling her vanilla-scented perfume while his hands shyly clutching on her kimono. She's so romantic. It feels good to have someone at last. Knock knock. And after that, Shirzuan kept her silent after she knocked the wall 2 times, a signal for the women outside to start carry the wagon. Thus they went to the library. The library is silent, well, as silent as it can be after the people previously inside ordered to walk away by his head and book guards. He don't know who is the head honestly, but asking would be funny, and thus Naruto keep his silent as he sat in one of the chairs while reading another book about common sense. Behind him, Shirzuan stood while massaging his shoulders as gently as possible. Of course, around him, he was once again circled by several women that seemingly focused to keep their eyes around the library just in case someone want to attack him. So high-end. Fortunately, none of them talk or something like that, seemingly content to give him the silence he wanted. Anyway, another book about common sense already read. Naruto found out some more interesting information about the current world has living in it. Seems in this world there was no concept of masculine and feminine. No wonder, considering from what he had seen the women here seemed to be on equal ground to man, which is a good thing, because without any concept of masculine and feminine, then sexist won't happen anytime soon. But such thing would also make a few big different, Naruto thought while tapping on his chin, deep in thought with nothing but seriousness on his face. Without the concept of masculine and feminine, then the concept of tomboy for some females or sissy for some males would also not exist. Will it have an impact to attire? He does know, but then again he hopes it won't. He likes seeing women clad in beautiful dress. Thank you very much, Naruto-sama. You have closed your book for a few minutes now. Would you like to have a drink? Snap. But once, right after Shirzuen said her words, several heads of his guards snapped to his direction, waiting for his command. And seeing this, Naruto blushed bashfully. Who a warm milk in another book? This time about me, please. Without any words said, several guards disappear from the circle. Though after they did, other guards from out of nowhere suddenly appears and filled the empty slots. Almost immediately behind him, Shirzuen suddenly massaging his scalp, something that made Naruto shiver in pleasure for a brief second. Naruto-sama, are you perhaps want to know how the normal people see about you? Why yeah, that's right, just as he thought. But such power Naruto hold in this world, there is no wonder he had a book dedicated to him. Hell, instead of a book there is probably several books written about him, considering even one of the Sanin Tsunade Senju seems to hold him in high regard. And again, it's good he has books written about him. He really wants to know what he is in this world. Yes, he knows that he is the only desirable male, but what is his job exactly? He seems like a noble, and his name seems to hold more weight than the fire daimyo himself, considering his manager was quick and without mercy scratched off his plan with the ruler of the Fire Nation. It was frightening, if he can be honest. Just what is he here exactly? It took his guards no longer than a few minutes before, in the end, they returned with a glass of warm milk and several books with embarrassing titles on their covers. Naruto, the God's Gift to Women. Naruto, the Gentle, that etc. By the end of sorting, Naruto picked the most normal among everything. A simple-looking book with a normal-looking title, Biography of Naruto Uzumaki. The biograph. With this he should be able to know the last question he holds deep in his heart, why he is not a ninja. Ayuga Mansion. What are you sure he is? In the library, deep in the high yoga mansion, more specifically in the clan's training ground. A tall young woman with a long silky deep blue hair can be seen wearing nothing but pure white sport bra for top and long white hakama for the bottom. Her breasts are so large that even the bra is about to rip though, and currently her white lavender tinted eyes is staring at someone from her clan with something akin to cold glare. Yes, clan leader Hanada-sama, one of the guards patrolling the west side of Konoha, said he saw a gold wagon being carried to the direction of the library, and another guard patrolling near the library said she saw Naruto-sama entered the library with his elite guards in tow. I see the tall woman named Hanada muttered softly as she walked to the nearest tree and took her towel from it, which she used to wipe out her heavy sweat from her today training. On her cheeks a telltale of blush can be seen, and deep in her eyes there is nothing but hungry desire. Then send one messenger to the library to send a message to Naruto that it'd like to visit him if possible. If he says no, cut the messenger's head. Also tell the chefs to make a bento full of highly delicious food. Make sure they do it right. If I heard my Naruto complain about it, their heads will off. You understood, Hanada-sama? But the bow of nothing but reverence, the Hyuga clan member disappears to deliver the clan head's order, and after she was all alone, Hanada turned her face to the direction of the library and activates her Byakugan, though frown martyr face, when she saw how Shirzuen seemingly content massaging Naruto's shoulders, and from his focus he dosed and realized that sometimes Shirzuen would slip her hands into his shirt to touch his bare skin. Fucking bitch. Sneer of nothing but pure hatred can be seen on Hanada's face for a second. Killing intent and pure chakra washed away the training ground with anger and quickly wasted it, but as quick as it came it disappeared as Hanada placed her towel on her neck and walked to the direction of the bath as her guard tell Naruto of her visit and her chefs preparing a feast for him. Tears. One thing that she still needs to do, she must look her best. By Manaka Mansion H, he refused one young woman with very long platinum blonde hair, jaw dropped. When her messenger returned with a bad news, and here she already put her makeup and lipstick to look as best as she could for Naruto. She even already put her best-looking ninja attire that, showing her midriff and several other of her body parts in hope Naruto gained desire when he saw her, just as she gains desire every time she saw his face with large pair of breasts, tall body, and sharp and mature face. She might look normal to other men, but now she already wears her makeup. She should be able to make Naruto feel something for her, or so she thought at first outing one. Nino Yamanaka held back her crocodile tears. Her fight end before it can even start. The haha princess. I told you Naruto-san would like to get his study, interrupted the tall and powerful-looking blonde. Maines said after he laughed lightly after seeing his own daughter got a bad news from their clan. Messenger beside him, his wife, slapped his shoulder without any really harm done, but her eyes show sympathize to her daughter. You know, my dear, you were in the same class with Naruto-san back in academy. Yes, then you should know by now that he won't like you just because you put some makeup power back. When Naruto was in the academy, he was already a heartthrob for many females, girls and women alike. Students and teachers alike, each of them had different faces and bodies, but at the end of the day, Naruto desired one thing and one thing only from anyone who want him: power for those who had power. And gain his interest, Naruto would let them enter his private guards where they could bask in his presence every single day. An envious job to all women in the world, be but in plenty strong already. Be no Yamanaka, the lone heiress of the Yamanaka clan. Why does she knelt down at the edge of the room with a gloomy cloud hang on top of her head, and seeing this her mother pat her ever gently with a re-smile. Then you're just not strong enough, my daughter. Back with Naruto finished with his read about himself, Naruto closed the book in his hands without any words. Say, Shizuna, am I a bad person? Naruto said suddenly to his manager that still massaging his shoulders and naped with nothing but gentleness, and when she heard his question she narrowed her eyes. Of course not, Naruto-sama. Did the writer wrote something that offend you? If so, give me the order, I will have their head by tomorrow. No, from such sudden death threat to the poor unknown writer. Naruto shook his head very quickly to calm down his obsessive manager. Wait, no, if what he read is right, then not only Shirzuen, but all women in the world held over obsessive feelings toward him. He needs to take care not to say our own thing from now on. It just, I want to hear, what do you think of me? Naruto said softly. In the end, and when Shirzuen's chakra pressure seems lessened, Naruto let out a small sigh of relief. That was dangerous for his heart. What is he? Even the book didn't tell him anything, but there is one thing he could glean from the book. He is the main perpetrator of the many wars that is happening in this world. Small, big, internal, her external. Most of those wars happened and happening because of him. The Naruto Hyuga, that now clan head, she rebelled against her father and Hyuga's council and killed all of them, raising in power with nothing but iron fist for what to get his attention. I would even now still trying and failing to wage war against Konoha. It is because Kuritsuchi, the granddaughter of the third Sushikage, that wanted to have him for herself, the Zugaker that now split into two. It is because in one side is the female side that support an idea to capture him from Mizu, while the other side want to befriend Konoha because he is here. Many more and many more. The even Uchiha clan said to be wiped out from the Konoha because Itachi Uchiha in his original world met different demise in this world. The Uchiha in this world planned to rebel by capturing him for a ransom to the whole world. The one who killed them, Makoto Uchiha, the woman that without hesitation killed every Uchiha from young, told with nothing but cold blood after she heard such plan from the council. The demonic Uchiha Makoto, now one of the biggest figurehead in the world, because after her deed she was given wealth without measure and armies by all countries right now. She is the giant figure of Konoha, said to be his shield that will not let even a strand of his hair get cut down after his wounds in the forest of death. It is even said the demonic Makoto locked inside her chamber to get 1,000 whipped to her back after her failure. Is he bad? Marito think that yes, he is a bad person. I thought you are the warmest sun that descend onto this bleak world. Dust before Shizune can't say anything. The large door of the library was opened, and from it a tall and very beautiful Hyuga woman enter, followed by several Hyuga guards behind her. And she's wearing a very exaggerate black dress that give her an evil but sexy woman vibe, just like the others. In her eyes Marito sees nothing but desires for him, the hour of the silent moon, who judged right and wrong. The woman walked to his direction with grace, eyes seemingly never leave his form as she getting closer and closer, and when she is right in front of him the woman knelt down to his level and took his right palm with her two gloved hands, then kissed the back of said palm as gently as possible, again her eyes never leaving his face as she doing this. And of course, you are the half of my heart, my dearest, would I have the honor to taste your sweet and captivating lips. As the mysterious beautiful woman said this, her face was getting closer and closer into his own face, something that makes Naruto can't help but to feel charmed by her beauty, and thus, when she asked the question, he nodded unconsciously, then please excuse me, do soft gloved hands cup Naruto by cheeks, and before he can realize what is happening the woman already leaned forward her face and captured his lips in a very rough kiss. And wet throat, a moan came out from Naruto's lips when the woman dug her tongue deep into his lips, caressing and ravaging every inch and every centimeters of his inner mouth, all the while her two fingers stuck into his ears, making him can only hear the lewd wet noise she's making as she's kissing him. Fortunately for his sanity, the woman broke the kiss by herself not long after, raising her lovely skirt as if she just finished their normal greeting, and now in her eyes there's nothing but love. Naruto-kun, glad to see you healthy and well in this day. The Hinata has bring with her lunches for two. Would you like to eat together? Wait, what? For a brief second Naruto blinked quickly when he realized what the woman was saying. Looking on, he notices her white lavender-tinted eyes, her silky dark blue hair, and he even took notice of her familiar warm and shy smile. Wait, this is Hinata. Taller than him, this woman is about 175 centimeters in height, with big breasts covered in her dress and wide hips, clad in a rather long wavy silk skirt that reaches the floor. She looks like a 19 years old, no matter how hard he looked. Beware, of course, Hinata ID like the dad, older Hinata are not. Naruto let out a small smile to the woman, something that made her face turn red almost immediately. Fortunately, this woman that looked like an older version of Hinata is more familiar with him, and thus she doesn't go crazy and lustful just because she saw his smile. If nothing else, she looks happy and bashful to get a simple smile from him. That's good, Chess, more normal than Tsunade. Then please excuse me, the woman said lovingly as she took the seat beside him and clapped her hands thrice. The no times the guard she brings already placed several foods on top of the table so quick that it was almost magical, though already saw even more impressive speed from his guards. Naruto isn't really that surprised and simply nodded when he sees several plates of food suddenly appear in front of him. All these looks nice, Hinata, if you food. Thank you for the compliment, my dear Naruto-kun, but as I am the guest here, why don't you take the first bite? I would love to hear your thought about the food my clan chefs made. Oh, okay. There was some kind of mysterious tone when Hinata said her words, as if she was hoping that he found the food is really good, if not someone gonna get hurt. That was what her tone told him. Help. Naruto gulped down in nervousness when he thought like this, will someone die if he says the food isn't delicious? But let's just quickly eat and say everything is delicious. With that, his words probably won't kill anyone innocent, but to be safe, let's just not talk that much. For some reason, Hinata in this world give him shivers like no others. He is kinda terrified of her now. Yesterday was enlightening. If Naruto can't say it himself, Hinata, for all of her dark and seemingly cold vibe, was very gentle and loving toward him. She spoon-fed him with love in her eyes. She bashfully pulled her chair closer to him and put her head on his shoulder, and she even gave him a loving kiss when they parted ways. If Scherzuan is akin to that big sister, then Hinata is definitely a girlfriend, one that is seemingly happy because yesterday he was pretty accepting of her advance. It that mean he was really a dousebag that always refused her advance before he dosed? No, but the things he gleaned from the book about himself and from the women around him seemed to contradict each other. From the book, he was like some kind of cold yet likable character, one that demands power and respect for many females he met, but from what Hinata told him, he was the one who saved her from loneliness when she was nothing but a weak-willed and bully girl, and her words made him remember Hinata from his world, silent, shy, and always nervous little girl who kept shuddering despite her status as the heiress of the great Hyuga clan. It me and this world do the right thing. Laying on the large, very high-class king-sized bed, while wearing nothing but a simple-looking, but actually very expensive white pajama, Naruto muttered, as he thinking about everything Hinata had told him yesterday. Was it the right thing to do? He saved Hinata from her days of loneliness. But once it happened, her rage toward her so-called family exploded, but then nothing but a day She killed her own father and Hyuga's council members, then took the seat of the clan head. That the biography, he was like a devil who whispered bad things to a little girl, but to Hanada he was her hero who saved her from a cold, unloved life. What is right, what is wrong, he muttered while covering his eyes, using his arm, a frown marring his youthful face. Back in the past he would want to think about such a thing. His dream is one thing, and one thing only, to be the strongest ninja there is and become the next Hokage, but in this world he was forced to see that every action he did had consequences. So confusing. Shizune, are you there? Climbed off of his bed, Naruto called his guardian, that probably standing outside the door, and just as he thought, the moment he said his words, the woman come in with a bow full of reverence on her face. A small smile could be seen. She is happy that it was her name that was called by him early in the morning. Yes, in here, Naruto-samba. Would you like to eat breakfast now? Not yet. Naruto shook his head. It is still too early for a breakfast anyway. Could you get me all information about all women work under me? There are some things that I need to check, but out any other expression on her face except for reverence. Shizune bowed down once again. That she'll be done before the lunchtime, Naruto-sama, and thus she disappeared, leaving him all alone in his room. Though in her place a woman with a fox-shaped mask appeared, kneeling down on one knee before the door. Unlike Shizune, the woman stays silent, probably only will move when he ordered her to do something. Was he that cold toward everyone under him, that none of them dared to greet him? You? Yes, my lord. The masked woman's words were quick and professional, definitely not a voice he expected from a woman who is head over heels for him, and this makes Naruto pretty sure of one thing. Naruto, who lived in this world, he didn't know how blessed he is. Such a thing, it must be changed. All the top 10 combatants among the guards here. After that, carry me to the bathroom. You all can wash my body together there, Naruto said, without any expression whatsoever on his face. However, there was no coldness in his tone. It's pretty hard, but he was known to be a person who placed power above anything else. He cannot change that single fact out of the blue, or there would be some questions that need to be answered. Plus, with this, there would be healthy rivalries between his private guards. Why, yes, at once, my lord. But such an excited voice. The fox-masked woman disappeared after she left a single shadow clone to watch and guard him on top of his bed. Naruto put his hands on his face, hiding the shame and embarrassed look he having from the woman's clone. This should be all right. He wants attention and love, and his guards desire him so much that walking side to side with him alone can be considered as a prize to them. If his top guards get another kind of prize, it should be fine, right? Okami, I hope I won't faint from embarrassment inside the bathroom. It took the woman less than a few minutes before, in the end, she brought along another 9 of fox-masked women. So that means she is one of the 10 top combatants. Yes, then again, there was just no way that Shizune would leave him with a weak guard. So pretty understandable there by Lord H. How should we carry you? The woman with the most pressure around her said after she stepped forward. A small shudder was evident in her tone, a sign of her feelings of nervousness and excitement. After he heard the question, Naruto's face returned to its poker face as he spread his hands to the left and right. First and second strongest, carry me bridal style, left and right respectively. I said it, I really said it. Bridal style is a romantic gesture, but at the end of the day he would be too embarrassed to be carried by one female while his arms wrapped around her neck, and would be forced to focus his attention on her face. So why not just 2 of 2 women carrying him left and right respectively? He would be able to focus his attention forward in theory, all the while his left hand can clutch into the woman in his left and vice versa with his right. The women closed on him, and Naruto stiffened a little when both used their arms together to princess carrying him. Though the moment they lifted him off, Naruto cannot stop his urge as a blush appears on his cheeks. Only a small blush, fortunately. Oh, right, him comfortable now. Go. Without any other words from him, the two started to carry him with nothing but gentleness, though pretty slow, to make sure he won't fall. His theory was a little off, though he saw some books that had pictures of a man carrying a woman in bridal style, and the woman's hands were long enough to wrap around the man's neck, even if she was just around his lower chest. But now being carried, Naruto found a small flaw in his theory. The 2 who carrying him have a pair of large breasts. His arms cannot reach their neck from such a thing. Keeping his calm despite such a situation, Naruto in the end merely clutches on their attire with his poker face, and thus he was carried to the bathroom by 2 of his guards' strongest, followed by other 8 of his strongest combatants. Later, that was a piece of heaven sitting on a Small stool with nothing but his boxer Naruto's face is blank as 10 nude but fox-masked women. Circle him and press their soapy breasts against every part of his body, front, back, left and right. Chest, back, hands, and even legs caged in the middle of the softness of their breasts is enough to make Naruto's brain circuit get fried. Of course, not only their breasts, his 10 elite guards are also using their hands to scrub some parts that their breasts cannot reach, like the between of his fingers, for example. Of course, by this moment there is something standing, and it is not justice. Wait, now that he thinks again, without females having lust toward males and vice versa, how would the man and women make children? But out lust there should be no reaction, and without reaction then men would have erections. How did they make children? Oh wait, even without lust, if you rubbed it long enough, it would stand up, right? High pleasant shivers jolted Naruto awake from his thought the moment one of his guards looked her hand into his boxer and started to pump it up and down with silence, probably with the intention to clean it and nothing else, though he was really hesitant to believe this, as he could see that all of his guards' next is red, a sign of them being flustered. Seeing this, Naruto's eyes white and slightly, oh, women here cannot lust after men except him. Stupid, he can make them excited. Naruto saw me, your thing here is standing with all of us, have the honor to rubs it until you come. Ball all of us, then pairs of breasts pressing on his body and 10 pairs of hands rubbing his jr. Imagining it alone, Naruto's mind become blank once again, but nonetheless he nodded at their strange and perverted request. Why yes, but I'll only allow you all to make it come one time only. High excited, all of the guards pressed their soft and sexy bodies against his even more than before. All the while their long and feminine hands clumped on his waist and began to play with his most sensitive area. After that it was like a blur to Naruto. Heaven, hell, he don't know, but when his mind returned he was already inside a bathtub with 2 guards flanking his front and back, scrubbing his body with foaming scrub in their hands. But happened he don't know, but at the end of the day, fuck it, it was so good that his mind turned into mush. Maybe he should limit his bathing his elite guards to 1 time a week instead of his initial plan, which is to do it every single day. Yeah, 1 time a week sounds like a good plan. Later, clad in a normal-looking sleeveless short kimono for males for the top and long black pants for the bottom, Naruto stares at his own reflection in the mirror and straightens his armband, but his eyes, he looks normal, being a 15 years old teen. Naruto stood about 155 centimeters with untamed blonde hair on top of his head. His eyes are cerulean blue in color, ones that could glisten just like gems have seen from some angles, and his skin is peachy white because his job as a librarian forced him to stay in a cool room from morning till afternoon. A normal-looking boy without anything special about him. That was what crossed Naruto's mind when he stares at his own reflection, but in this world he is practically the person with the highest priority and hierarchy, with no one being his equal. No one bores wage for his attention. People killed each other to gain his favor, and as this happened throughout the world, here he was looking calm, as if nothing else mattered except for himself, playing and playing with so little time for work that at first sight would be like normal visits to some kind of friends. The blessed world for one Naruto Uzumaki, but a hellish world for other people. He won't let it keep happening. Thinking like this, Naruto nodded to his reflection and walked out of his bedroom toward the dining room. Behind him shadows took form as 2 of his guards flanked his blind side. For now, let's just have breakfast. The lavish feast was spread around the dining table as Naruto took his seat on the most beautiful chair at the edge of said table. He won't ask about the feast, not at all. Behind him his 2 guards straightened their backs with their hands behind their waists, looking cool and professional. Some of you go and help Shirzuen sort the thing I told her to do. I want to done by the time I finish my breakfast. High, several feminine voices rang after Naruto said his words, followed by several blurs that appear and disappear into the window of his mansion. Yeah, he lives in a mansion right in the middle of the district named after him, not something he wants to think about yet. Anyway, after a few seconds passed, Naruto began to eat as slowly as possible to give Shirzuen a little bit more time to use. She said the data would be finished about lunch, so if he ate just a little bit slowly after he sent several guards to help her, she should be finished after he was done eating his breakfast. Right. Actually, one of you go to Shirzuen, tell her to take her time. It won't be good if she was quick, but she missed some information, Naruto said in the end, and another blur ran toward the window and disappeared from his sight. Of course, his main concern is not the thing He said it all and more about what would Sherzuan do to herself just in case she failed to meet his expectation. The Kodo Asia, the so-called demonic Asia, a title she gained after she took Idake's place to murder every Asia clan member in this world, locked herself in her room and punished herself to clean her shame after her failure to protect him against small wounds he dosed, and want to know what would Sherzuan do to herself if she fails to meet his direct order to finish her assignment. After breakfast. Nope, don't wanna. Later. Naruto-sama, here is the thing you told me to gather. A few hours after Naruto finished his breakfast, he was sitting in front of his large television, playing a rather interesting game. He saw it was good honestly, but now Sherzuan is back. It's time for work. Thank you, Sherzuan, taking the thick stack of papers from the woman's hands. Naruto got a small bow from her as he walked to the nearest table and chair and put the papers on top of the former while he took his seat on the latter. The first paper, it was Sherzuan's data. Name Sherzuan Kato, age 28, occupation Naruto, use amicus, assistant, classification medical, ninja, rank Jonin, overall power high Jonin, specialization medical ninjutsu, poison based ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, wages 500,000 Rio per month, and a kiss on the cheek from Naruto. Use Amaki every 2 weeks. Okay, it was good data. And he also never expected Sherzuan to be a high Jonin level Keniichi, despite he knew that she was pretty strong. And what's up with the wages? 500,000 Rio loan is pretty cheap for someone of her. At the very least he would want 100,000,000 Rio if he were Sherzuan, considering he didn't see any day off for her, but she let such a thing off just because he kissed her on the cheek every 2 weeks. Here Naruto frowned. Is his kiss alone worth a whipping 250,000 Rio? No wonder his guards were so happy to bathe him. Sherzuan, how many guards do I have in total? Naruto said softly to his assistant, his eyes never leaving the data paper as he read them one by one, and for each paper his eyes got narrower and narrower. Except for Sherzuan, the others' wages are just about 300,000 Rio per month, followed by seeing Naruto use Amaki every day. Not only that, the weakest among his guards has an overall power of mid-Jonin, well, the rest is above it. This is a direct abuse of special power, mounting everyone including me. Then you have about 521 women under you, Naruto-sam. I see 521 women with wages far less than normal Jonin. And under the Hokage. Unbelievable, unacceptable. Sherzuan, does my guards have a leader or something like that? Asking something like this would be suspicious honestly, but Naruto cannot help it. He really wants to know about the situation of the women working under him. He really wants to know whether Naruto here was a good or bad guy, but he already had the feeling, oh no, they don't. Naruto Sama, for them your order is one and absolute. No one can order them around except for you. Just as he thought, thinking like this, Naruto let out a small smile of sadness as he closed his eyes and leaned his back against the backrest of the chair. He sat on the tyrant. That's what Naruto was before. He appears the tyrant who wanted all powers in the world in his palm and no one else had. Defend, a total bad guy. Silent. Naruto tilted his head backward so he can stare at the ceiling, trying and failing to find a way to fix all of the problems previous Naruto Uzumaki have made. Just as he was thinking like this, his sight was suddenly covered by a side of the large bosom of Sherzuan that loomed above his head, and gently her hands went to his scalp and rubbed away his headache, massaged by a beautiful woman while her large breasts were right in front of his face. Naruto blushed immediately. And Naruto-sama, I hope you don't mind the ugly side of my bosom. I just want to message his head because you look like having a headache. Naruto heard a nervous voice from Sherzuan, and hearing it, Naruto became silent for a few seconds. Ugly, back in his world, most men liked big-breasted women and pretty much had less interest in small-breasted women. But seriously, ugly, I don't mind it. Sherzuan, I used your bosom as pillow. Remember, it would be very suspicious if he were to say he like a woman with a large pair of breasts, considering if he were to believe Sherzuan's words, then most men here must hate such a thing and even will call it ugly if it were too big. Like Sherzuan's strange world. Really, honestly, Naruto was also neutral towards such a thing at first, but after he felt the softness of breasts when he slept with Sherzuan, and this morning when he was caught in the middle of 10 pairs of breasts, Naruto at last understood the men's in his world fascination toward women with big breasts in this world. Such a thing seems to be in reverse, though. As for why, he is yet to know the reason. ICT, then would you like me to press my bosom against your face? Naruto-sama, yes. Hesitation will only make Sherzuan think he was lying just to make her feel better, and thus when she offered a bosom press to his Face Naruto immediately agreed no, it's not because of his newly gained fascination with female breasts. Of course yes, honest, well, maybe a little then, please excuse me, using one of her hands to lift. Very slowly Sherzuan pressed the underpart of her bosom clad in black soft kimono against his face, covering not only his sight but also his nose and mouth because of her large size. As his sight turned dark, Naruto lose his ability to speak as he can only smell the fragrant scent of Sherzuan's vanilla perfume tinted with a slight twinge of her natural mature scent. Her smell is nice enough that his feet curled for a brief second. At the same time his heart feels calm as he slowly to sleep by Sherzuan's calming heart. The hell, said, big breasts are ugly, and he will beat them with nothing but his fists. Naruto-sama, do please tell me the moment you want me to stop pressing my ugly bosom against your perfect face. Naruto heard Sherzuan's professional and loving voice as she continues massaging his shoulders, but when his mind caught up to her words, Naruto inwardly snorted. If not for the stupid act of the previous Naruto Uzumaki, then he would love to do nothing but do something like this forever. LOL, to sleep with his face pressed into a large pair of breasts. Stupid Naruto, cursing himself. Naruto in the end let Sherzuan's heartbeat lull him to a short nap. A short nap with his face on a beautiful woman's breasts. It's a dream come true. Zzzzz. Later, Naruto-sama, please wake up. Jiraiya is looking for you. The soft, loving voice called on to Naruto as he rubbed his half-lidded eyes. What, Sherzuan, what time is it right now? Naruto asked the moment he woke up from his short nap, eyes looking around, and took notice of the chair and desk on the edge of the room where he fell asleep. Sherzuan must have placed him on the sofa when she realized he was asleep. Whether she continued to bosom press him, he dozed. No, but the answer is probably yes, simply because his face feels kind of tingly pleasantly right now. 1 p.m. Naruto-sama, Yao missed your lunch. Would you like for me to tell the chef to make something for you to eat? No need. Softly Naruto waved away the woman's concern as he simply stood and stretched his limbs. Him still full from the breakfast. Just skip my lunch for today. How funny for him to fall into a morning short sleep just a few hours after he woke up from his night's sleep, and again sleeping on a woman's breasts was just too comfortable, so much that has probably gonna get addicted to it. Understood. Naruto-sama, would you like to meet your Isama immediately? He is in the dining tomb currently. All right, let's meet him for now. Naruto nodded calmly, and after that he walked in the direction of the dining room, followed by the beautiful woman named Sherzuan. Duria, how long he hadn't heard that name. Duria in his previous world, the man had come a few weeks after Naruto's failed exam. At that time Naruto was bitter and very untrusting toward anyone else, more so toward someone who claimed to be one of the 3 legendary ninjas that for some reason took interest in him and wanted him to be his apprentice, the con artist. That was what Duria to Naruto at first, but day after day, week after week, then man didn't give up. But then again, even after Duria brought the 3rd Hokage to be proof of his claim as a member of the Sannin, Naruto still refused to become the old man's apprentice. Naruto, the man was too suspicious. 6 months passed and the old man disappeared, leaving nothing but a single scroll for him. From the scroll Naruto learned everything. Duria, of the man who brings such a bitter memory. By God, son, you just wake up. Geez, you're becoming lazier and lazier these days. The moment Naruto walked into the dining room, the tall man with long white hair was already beside him, petting his back in a good-natured manner. Of course, his voice was tinted by a small amount of judging. Probably because Naruto still has a pair of half-lidded eyes. I was busy and got some headache. There was something that I need to do, that's why I look like this. Honestly, it was simply because Sherzuan's breasts were too damn comfortable, but to the people in this world, such a thing would probably sound unbelievable. That's why Naruto was quick to make up another reason for his tired-looking face. Oh, seemingly not believing what he heard, the perverted old man moved his eyebrow up and down in a rather teasing manner, something that made Naruto want to kick the man literally. Are you sure it was not because you know I was coming today to invite you to our usual brothel? I heard they have a new batch of beautiful girls. View. Just as Naruto wanted to say something, he stopped. What brothel? Beautiful girls? He thought there was no desire in this world. Did he read the wrong book yet? By even bring some photos for UTCI. The moment the old man took out some photos from his pocket, Naruto sweat dropped almost instantly. Flat chest and body, narrow hips. There is no femininity within those girls at all. This is beautiful. I'm not interested. Gonna go back to my study. See you around. Old man turned around. Naruto walked away from one Jiraiya that had his mouth gaping wide, feeling shocked like no other than Naruto rejected his offer to go to the brothel. But I already booked it under your name. Bo's gonna pay those beautiful and expensive women now, if not. Naruto, thinking like this, Jiraiya turned into a statue, shocked beyond belief by his own gods and out of character attitude. But Naruto himself, narrowing his eyes and nothing but focus while walking toward the study room. Art, the woman, appears beside him right after he called, and without any pause Naruto gave her his order. At me, all the books about common sense, man and woman relationship, and some books of smud in the library. Understood, but the silent word, the woman assassin, disappeared. Enough is enough, Naruto thought silently. Deep in his mind he was holding back himself too much. He must know the real difference between this world and his previous world before he could make some kind of mistake that would make some heads turn. This world, Naruto Uzumaki, already made enough problems. The docent want to stack another problem on top of those. Hours later, all right, this should be the end of my study about this world, Naruto muttered lowly under his breath after he put down his pen. He was wrong. The thing that doesn't exist in this world is not desire but lust, though even without lust pleasure is still there, and with pleasure man and woman can convince a child after their marriage. The man and women in this world, sex is not a desirable act simply because without lust for each other the only way to gain pleasure is to literally force each other on their partner. Simply said, sex is a war between a pair of husband and wife. The one who won will feel somewhat limited pleasure because they can do anything they want, while the other might feel a little pain because they were on the receiving end. Naruto was confused at first. Honestly, why would the one who got the receiving end won't get pleasure and got pain instead? That was imagination. Where did lust come from exactly? Imagination is the answer. Back in his previous world, there were so many kinks for sex, from light to heavy, and each people may lack some while hating some. Why? Because their imagination birthed lust. If you still don't understand, let's think of it like this. For the man in this world, they would feel pleasure when they rubbed their JR, but it would take a rather long time simply because they don't have enough imagination to make said JR stand quicker. Now what they will feel if a woman was the one rubbing said JR. New don't forget, they don't have imagination, nor do they have lust to awaken such imagination. Pain, that's the answer, but without any lust. The growing area is the most sensitive area for men population. The only thing they got, if it was rubbed without their own hands, would be nothing but pain. Of course the women's side is also the same, but out lust their growing area won't get wet, and a dry hole equals to painful insertion. Oh wait, it seems in this world both parties feel pain. Whoever takes charge, now that he thinks again, the one who takes charge will feel less pain. That's all such a cruel world this world is. But wait, won't this situation basically clean this world from an act of rape? Leaning his back against the chair's backrest, Naruto let his mind wander once again. Why does the male population in this world seem to think women with less meat on their chests and hips area is beautiful? He is yet to find any hint of the answer to such a question from all of the books he finished, but at the end of the day he doesn't care, simply because it would mean he would get the ugliest, most beautiful women. Is his really this world is too kind to one. Naruto Uzumaki, hey, did you hear? It seems he upped the wages for his subordinate. I even heard the top 10 strongest was allowed to clean his body once a week. Really, he is so kind. Honestly, even getting closer to him alone is already a blessing. So true. And from what I heard, after he upped his guards' wages, it seems all of the countries in the elemental nation sent several thousand of applicants to enter his guards. It was probably only a rush after all. Their plan was a gamble at most. He won't take any guards just from applicant through then. Those applicants the up, if him right, then the next Naruto exam must be close. The world is at rar the moment. One day Naruto upped the wages of his private guards. The fact that made it more interesting is he also gave his strongest combatants pretty salivating rewards for them bathing him, changing his clothes, pairing him. All of those might seem normal at one glance, but have seen deeper than it shows something much more interesting fact. Naruto is now letting even ugly women touch him, unlike in the past when he would only let his closest aide and no one else do it, and said the aide was only allowed to change his clothes in the past and nothing else. The world is at rar almost immediately the moment the rumor was spread. Naruto exam, an exam that invites all women that were interested to become Naruto's guard to gather and fight against each other in brutal tests of strength, speed, dexterity, intelligence, and loyalty. And considering unlike ninja exams, Where there would be some death, the Naruto exam was never accountable for any death as long the exam was in motion. This made the number of participants never go under 1,000, and it seems this year's number gonna get doubled or tripled after the new rumor about him was spread this year. Gonna be exciting. But Naruto exam, Naruto asked as he sat on a chair while reading a rather thick book. Behind him, Shizuan's breasts are acting as his pillow while her hands once again massaging him and relaxing every nod on his shoulders near his legs. Two of his guards also massaged his legs, left and right respectively, a reward for them. Yes, have you forgotten, Naruto-sama? It's been 2 years since the last Naruto exam, and in this year, because Yorin Konohi shall be the exam's host and accept all incoming participants. I see. Nope, not really. What's the meaning of this Naruto exam exactly? An exam for what? He doesn't understand at all. I'm for random bullshit. Any exact number for the participants at the moment. The number is still increasing, Naruto-sama, though. Just this morning the number already reached about 2,000 participants. If Naruto were drinking right now, then he would probably already sputtered all of the drink in his mouth from the shock he felt when he heard the number stated by Shizuan. But because he didn't, the shock was only shown by the slight widening eyes of his poker face is going good. Tote, why, I see. Then I hope all of them is strong. Yes, I also hope this year's participants isn't as disappointing as the last exam. We only got 100 guards 2 years ago. So the exam was a way for women across the world to join his guards. But still, now that he thinks about it again, there is still no order among his guards, and pointing one or some to become sub-leaders will only create animosity between them. This exam can be used to his advantage. Guard helped me spread a rumor. Bride. After Naruto said his words, several women clad in black and donning fox masks appeared in front of him and kneeled on one knee. They're ready for his order. The rumor would be in the last test, all of the participants that success will gather in the Colosseum and do a battle royale. Everyone from my guards and anyone that ranked Jonin with enough status may also join. As for the reward for the top winners, they will be my right hand, left hand, and the rest may become sub-leaders among my guards. Understood. The women disappeared after they said their words, leaving Naruto that once again continue his study about this world's common sense, just in case there is something that he missed. The end. This world was someone who desire power above all else. He cannot change, just like that. It must be done as slowly as possible. Naruto-sam, are you sure about that? If you let anyone to join them, I expect Mikoto to be one of my most elite guards by the end of the exam, Naruto said honestly, which got a simple nod from Shizuan. Mikoto Icha, the woman that is said to be a friend of his late mother, toward him. The woman is more than other women if we talk about her over-obsession and over-protectiveness, so much that in the past, just like the other, she also tried to court him. Naruto rejected her. Not only that, he called her an ugly big-breasted old woman. The very next day, Mikoto Icha was found lying on top of the pool of her own blood after a suicide attempt. Fortunately, she was saved before she could die, and ever since that day her over-obsessiveness toward Naruto become much worse than usual. It was the woman who trained his guards secretly, making each of them in a lead among elites. That was why when his guards failed to protect him back in the forest of death, she was depressed and decided to punish herself for her failure. The Naruto, she was ugly, and thus she decided to become a shadow that protects him in secret. Without showing her ugly face, how can I reject such thing? Attention, love, and kindness. That's all he wanted, and Mikoto was going to give him all of those. Why would he in this world reject her? Guard. Another guard appeared from the shadow, and when she does, Naruto turned silent for a few seconds, thinking about what he should say, but in the end, Thel Mikoto sent, I expect her to be my right-hand woman once the test is over, and also tell her this. Good luck. Thus the woman disappeared just like a shadow, and when she did, Naruto closed the book in his hands and put it on top of the table with him, then softly stood. He stood not because he wanted to move, though I want to take a nap like a blur. Shizuan was already sitting on the chair where he sat just now. Obi untied as her kimono loosened and showing her body clad in thin inner kimono, and around him several women from his private guards also appear, taking off their hard armors and leaving nothing but the soft part of their attires. Homily. Naruto took his seat on Shizuan's lap, head on her breasts, as the woman's hands moved and tied her kimono back in place, blanketing him with her silky kimono. Naruto-sama, sleep well. Naruto-sama, sleep well. Naruto-sama, sleep well. One by one his guards said this as they pressed their pillowy breasts against several parts of his body, then gently Rock said breasts to lull him to sleep, and by the end only one guard remains not pressing her breasts. To him, with Naruto's body can no longer be seen except for his face. Of course, the last said guard is right in front of him, fidgeting nervously. She is the one who has the biggest pair of breasts. And Naruto-sama sleep well, and after she said this Naruto's world turned dark as the last woman pressed her large pair of breasts against his face that is mushed in the middle of this woman and Sherzuan's breasts. Oh wait, all of his body is mushed by several pairs of breasts. That's really getting a dtictdh by several heavenly softness and cannot move except for a small twitch here and there. Naruto sleeps in the middle of men's fantasy and basically stumps on the dreams of most men from his original world, a Cha clan deep in the most secluded room in the Cha clan mansion. A woman with a plain-looking face knelt down in front of the paper door that showed a shadow of another woman sitting in a Caesar position with a sheath sword on her lap. The Koto-sama. "I'm here to send you a message I heard from one of Naruto-sama guards." The woman inside the room was silent for a few seconds, but the woman outside keeps her patient, knowing her mistress is currently in the middle of a very painful situation, and again after her mistress whipped herself 1,000 times it was a surprise she can still act normal. "What is the message, Kanam?" Did Naruto perhaps said he don't want me in his battle royale? The words stated by the woman were calm, but to one who was sharp enough then they would probably take notice of the bitterness in Mikoto's tone. Bitterness, sadness, and self-loathing. Easily hearing this, the maid cowed out in front of the door to her mistress' room, a happy smile on her face. "No, Mikoto-sama, it was the opposite." Naruto-sama said he expect you to become his right-hand woman after the battle royale, and he also said good luck for you. "Congratulations, Mikoto-sama, it seems your years of hard work is going to be rewarded. Is that so?" It was no joy nor happiness was want to hear Mikoto's tone, but to the maid's ears her mistress is so happy that she cannot express it with tone alone, and it proved when her mistress said her next words. "Called Tsunade send you for me. Tell her him in a dire need of medical treatment. If this battle royale going to be my last test to be with Naruto, then I want to do it with everything I've got. Not with already winded body." This Kanam understood. "Mikoto-sama, please excuse me." Step. Silent after the maid of the Icha clan was gone, the room turned silent. A ukuku, the small happy laugh, can be heard ever slowly getting louder and louder, and by the end of it the whole room was
Filla tuita de Monical lau from di previously silent room di
Ayuga clan. Are you going to join the battle royale? One Isama once again in the training ground. Hanada is practicing her Jayakana, nothing but air, using her usual attire for training. The few meters away from her, her little sister asked her a stupid question. "No need at the moment. It is only me who can be called as Naruto Kungal friend. I would want to lower myself to become his right-hand woman, no matter how enticing it would be to be always right by his side." The Nada said simply as her hands lowered, and after she did such a thing the air in front of her imploded by itself, destroying anything around with ease. Not enough. This kind of power is simply not enough. The Koto Icha is Naruto's shield, one that would lay down even her own life if it means protecting the blonde from harm. But then who would be his blade at the moment? None, because every single day women in the world train their body, their chakra, and their technique just to be his blade. At the moment no one is worthy enough to hold the mighty title of Naruto's blade, because no one is strong enough to take the medal. Of course it was also Hanada's dream to get that title. Naruto's blade is bride and his child bear, and for her to gain all of those above she cannot become his right or left hand, no matter what. After all, there is a limit to what one person can do. She is Naruto's to command, and by proxy her clan is also his to command if she was always by his side. No matter how enticing it is, he would no longer have any access to order her clan around. She cannot let such blasphemy happen. No matter what, I heard Naruto privately send his good luck to Mikoto Icha. He expected her to be his blade and shield after the test is over. This information has been proven true because not long after Tsunade send you walk to Icha district, the Hyuga that saw the suspect Tsunade is going to fully heal Mikoto Icha, so the woman could fight with all of her power in the battle royale. Silent the moment Hanada heard her sister's words, the clearing turned silent as Hanada's chakra went from dark purple to pitch black from her negative feelings. Outwardly she even bit her bottom lip so hard that it bled, and then she exploded. Hell, a messenger to say to Naruto I am going to join his battle royale if Naruto DDNT give me His good luck and blessing cut the messenger's head. Bufufu okay one Isama, and with a childish wave of her hand Hanada's sister turned her body around and walked away from her previous position, leaving one Hanada Hyuga all alone with Byakugan active and arms clad in dark chakra shaped in the likely of dragon heads. The existence of the dark dragon heads alone is enough that within minutes the clearing turned dry. Death had swept it, and death still standing there. Makoto Bicha. Okage office. Tsunade-sama, are you going to join the rumored battle royale? Inside the office room of Kano has highest ruler, a very beautiful blonde woman snorted in a rather unladylike manner. The moment she heard such a question thrown by her second apprentice Sakura Hiruno Sakura, if one were to ask all men in this world, they would immediately say one sentence: the most beautiful kunoichi in the world. Unlike most kunoichi, who are pretty tall, Sakura stood around 165 centimeters, easily making her the shortest among any kunoichi around her age, and unlike those who have E-cup breasts at the smallest, Sakura has very civilian-like B-cup breasts and pretty narrow hips. She's also the second apprentice of Tsunade Senryu, and the current head of Kano has medical core, making her not only a beauty but also a beauty with the power to back it up. Naruto is the heart rob of all women in the world, but Sakura is the heart rob of most men in the world. Ha, I would if not for this stupid job of mine, Tsunade growled angrily as she crumpled one paper with her hand, all the while she was glaring at nothing. She really wanted to join Naruto's private guards. The moment she heard the rumor about the wage increase everyone under him receives, and the rumor about his weekly reward for the 10th op combatants among his guards, but her prowess, it would be easy for her to climb into the top 10 after all. But here she was sitting and needing to wait for 3 or so months before she could take Naruto out on a date. The date she is waiting for, a date with him with very little chance for it to end up on top of her bed, considering she is pretty ugly when his guards happily bathe and touch him every single week. She is fucking envious. Baha, don't say that now. Tsunade-sama, Yara the backbone for our Konoha. After all, bitch, Yara the one started this conversation. Tsunade rage, comically getting a nervous laugh from Sakura that can only raise both of her arms in a surrender motion though. After a few minutes or so, Tsunade calmed down her hands, moving professionally around the desk, stamping some of the official documents that needed to be stamped. Her eyes are on Sakura with one of her eyebrows raised. How about you? Any plan to enter the battle royale? Sakura is a very beautiful young woman, one that could easily make any other woman envious, and from what Tsunade had heard, Sakura has a childhood crush on Naruto back in the academy, but then again, who dosed NT Naruto is just too charming for his own good. WLIP probably will quickly turned into a blushing mess. Sakura almost turned silent from the sudden question her master asked though. After she did answer the question, her master merely let out a small smile supporting her decision. Unlike the position of Hokage, Sakura can easily pass her position as the head medic to someone else for a time when she is working as Naruto's guard. Are you stupid shy bitch? Just fight against those stupid women that dare to think they are strong enough for Naruto-kun. Then once Yara, his right-hand woman, grab him, drug him, make him sleep, and fuck him. Imagine riding his perfect body while his innocent and pure face right under you. Help heard what her inner self said and cannot help but imagine such a situation. Sakura Hiruno can't help but gulp down her saliva, with sweat trailing down the side of her head. That was such a dirty image, but at the same time, her groin and stomach area began to feel tingly thinking about it alone. Still, let's just make it as our plan, as she agreed back with Naruto. Enough, that was the thought that crossed Naruto's mind the moment he got another question that popped into his head about this world. Just when he thought he had completely understood this world's law enough, this world's men are undesirable to the female population, and the things about women that made men in his world lustful are ugly in the eyes of men here. That's a period. Let's not search for an answer for the reason of such strangeness, because at the end of the day he might lose his mind to search for an answer that does not exist. So yes, enough about the stupid study. The Naruto-sama, does your headache got worse, sir? Should I ask for some medicines from the hospital? The worried voice from Shirzuen calmed down Naruto as she placed a warm cup of tea on the table in front of him, an empty tray in her hands, and on her face etched an honest expression of said worry. No, just take these books away from my sight, please. Naruto begged softly, and without even waiting for long. By the time he blinked his eyes, the previously stacked books in front of him already disappeared, as if never there in the first place. But there is very little to no lust in this world. Such a thing leads to a situation where population between men and women is only done by the people who really want to create a family together based on trust between each other and nothing else. See, it was beautifully worded. There is no need for him to pain his head over other changes the situation might lead to. Of course, he alone is the bug mixing in this world system, the bug that can awaken the female populations lost in this world, and the women never exposed to such thing were and will be easily influenced by such thing, leading to him now practically having every woman in the world falling head over heels for him and him alone. Though wait, his mind was wandering again. Stupid. Thank you, Shirzuen, I really appreciate it, Naruto said, thanking the woman that silently went to his behind and started to massage his nape again like usual, and after she heard his thanks, Shirzuen said her shut her grateful words. All the while Naruto sat and drank the tea prepared for him. Sigh, it was delicious. Now what should I do to kill some time? Skip a few weeks passed just like that, and sitting on a sofa with nothing but his pajama, Naruto was rereading the papers that listed the name of Naruto exams applicants over and over again. He was sitting in the living room, and sitting across from him is the fifth Hokage of Konoha herself, Tsunade Senju, that blatantly ogled his body with lust and desire in her eyes. Standing behind her, a young woman with pink hair named Sakura Haruno is doing the same, but with a rather bashful expression on her face. It seems the guest stuck in the back of his mind was true. Everyone that should be about his age is somehow about 19 or so years old in this world, while he himself is still fifth. Wait, is he really 15 in this world? Yes, it was really confusing for me, and Kano has counsel too, but considering you doubled your subordinates' wages and even gave the strongest among them pretty salivating rewards, I guess it is not really surprising that this year's applicants' number easily tripled the number of Naruto exam 2 years ago. Not having time to thought about his age in this world, Naruto can only not an understanding when Tsunade explained to him the reason for so many numbers of petitioners in this year's Naruto exam. It easily reached 4,000 applicants and is yet to stop increasing. That is understandable. I didn't accept for this many Jonin rank Kunoichi to join the exam. 4,000 even in Konoha they only have about 300 or so number of Jonin within its army, and considering Konoha is basically the strongest among the 5 great countries, the other 4's Jonin number is probably also not that far away from Konoha's 300. The thing 4,000 Jonin is going to come to his exam. Impressive, very impressive indeed, and what makes it more impressive is the fact that all of them are women, so they must come all the way from every corner of Elemental Nation just to become his guard. Yes, I guess the number is just shocking. Tsunade nodded, agreeing with his statement. Though, do you have any solid number of how many Konoichias are you going to take among those 4,000 here? Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, thinking about that Tsunade's question. Among the 4,000 he sees in the applicant papers, each of them is Jonin, and above, though some are even strong enough to give a cage trouble. Anyway, that's not Tsunade's question. Their question is more like this year's applicants seem really strong. Are you really going to take in all of the successful ones? 2 years ago Naruto took only 100 among the 1,000 applicants, but it didn't really make commotion considering he was always known to see people worth by their power, and the remaining 900 among the 1,000 just didn't hold a candle compared to the 100 he took. But this year everyone seems to be strong, so yep, as long fair powerful, I guess it'll take them in, though I might need to buy some empty districts from you if that were to happen. Tsunade's sent here. Naruto gave the woman across from him a rather seductive wink with red blushes on his cheeks, and after she sees such a sight, Tsunade's desire in her eyes seems to multiply by several times. Do her a wink alone from Naruto is fucking hot, but they're currently in the middle of business, so unfortunately I can't. Konoha law stated that a single person cannot hold more than 10% of Konoha's land, and considering you already has your own district and some lands outside the district, the total land under your possession currently is about 9% of Konoha. The heir. Tsunade licked her lips sexily while staring at Naruto, seemingly trying her best to look as professional as she could, but from her hunger-filled eyes alone Naruto knew what she really wants, something that made Naruto's blush deepen even more. Naruto put his card on the table. Before Tsunade can ask for something unreasonable, how about I let you create a private house beside my mansion for a payment to increase my land possession limit? The offer is salivating, and hearing such a thing even someone like Tsunade can't help but keep her silent for a few minutes, thinking hard about a decision she would take, though after a few minutes passed she nodded and the two shook their hand with that "it's a deal later, is it really wise to let Tsunade Sauma construct her private house beside this mansion?" Naruto Sauma, as his assistant, came and put a cup of warm tea on the table in front of him. While saying those words, Naruto blushes. He won't say it out loud, but Tsunade is just too gorgeous that it would be pretty stupid of him to keep rejecting her subtle yet still aggressive advance for him. She is lusting after him and desires him. And yet she was never that forceful and kept her distance, a sign of pretty good control. How can hear a few such an advance from a gorgeous and mature woman? They won't be as stupid as this world's previous Naruto. She is the current Hokage. Being her ally is much better than being her enemy, plus she is kind enough to us already. So of course I would have to give her a gift her to show my appreciation. I see, that was very mature. Review Naruto Sauma Ball. Saying this, Sherzuan took a seat beside him and pulled his head closer to her lap, where she began to comb his hair with the gentleness of a big sister. This is Naruto's reward for his trusted assistant that has stayed with him for years. But in seconds, Naruto's eyes become half-lit as he was facing upward, watching in wonder as a pair of breasts clad in black kimono moved up and down ever gently as the woman breathed in and out. It was mesmerizing, but in time Naruto became slightly sleepy despite he just woke up from his bed a few hours ago. Now he is becoming lazier and lazier with so many women taking care of him. Oh well. Sherzuan lap bed. I want to take a short nap, but pleasure. Naruto Sauma. Several puffing sounds came as Sherzuan made 7 shadow clones that also sat in sessa position just like her, 3 on her left and 4 across from her and her 3 clones, and with a quick and precise motion each of the Sherzuan lifted and put him on top of their lining soft lap bed, the bed made of Sherzuan's laps, and because he is laying in the middle of such a bed, light can no longer blind him as Sherzuan's 8 pairs of breasts cover the side above him. Remind me to give you a kiss on the lips once I wake up. Sherzuan. Of course, Naruto Sauma, I will do it immediately. If you forgot, didn't get any time to say his response. Naruto's mouth was silenced as the 8 pairs of breasts leaned down, caging every inch of his body in the middle of the softness of Sherzuan's lap and breasts. Good night, Naruto Sauma. Thus Naruto took his nap. That was a usual day for one Naruto Uzumaki, the only desirable man in the elemental nation. I can't wait for the exam. Yeah, me too. Them going to catch Naruto Sauma's attention with my bloodline for sure. Ha, you wish my well-trained swordsmanship is what will catch his attention. Walking through the busy and very crowded streets of Konoha, a figure in a dark robe and white fox mask was bobbing their head as they keep hearing so many people boast about their power, be it comes from their bloodline or something that come from their hard work. But they heard some information that said something about some people making a ruckus in the middle of the crowd and even killing some exam applicants. Well, considering when the exam and motion killing is forbidden, the penetrator probably killed some applicants to lessen the chance of failure for herself. Sadly, the penetrator was pretty professional and left no track at all. The professional assassin that trying to enter the guards of the most influential person in the world, one that was professional enough that even in Yuzuka clan members cannot track her. Excuse me, how much for this apple? Does take it for 10 Rio, but 8 Rio for one if you buy them in batch. No need, 1 is enough. Here's your Rio. Thank you very much. After the figure with a fox mask said this, they walked away while biting on the fruit in his hand after he pushed the mouth part of the mask a little bit to the side. SWAT. Now where to look for the next clue of the penetrator of the guard candidate killing. That's the reason Hess here outside his mansion after all. Well, not really. It was just boring hold inside his own house, even with such great and beautiful companions that would do whatever he asked for happily without any complaints whatsoever. But sure, let's search for some criminal while Hess outside. After all, why not? As the sun slowly began to set, a figure clad in a black robe and white fox mask entered the gate of his own mansion and take off the gears, showing that it was Naruto in the first place, and right now he's smiling happily. The day was a pretty exciting day. Why he went to so many places talking with the people here and there without anyone glaring at him. Sure, there was some suspicious look thrown at him, but considering his gears, it was understandable anyway. After Naruto took off his robe and mask, a woman appeared beside him, kneeling with 2 hands raised, and knowing what she wants, Naruto places the 2 gears in her hands. But was his guard's extra gear, and right after he did this, the door to his mansion opened, and from Shirzuen came out with eyes full of worries, but when she took notice of his large smile and his seemingly fine state without any visible wound whatsoever, the worry in her eyes disappears as she walked in his direction and bowed down when she was across from him. Naruto-sama, welcome back. Would you like to take a bath, or would you like to have some snack? Geez, not even a question about whether he success to find any clue about the killing penetrator. Sure, yeah, she probably is trying to not ask about that, considering several elites among his guard were following him around. And Shulv already filled her with the fact that he was just walking around and not really looking for anything, but still he actually did find something. Well, I was hoping that you would welcome me back with a kiss or T2. Embarrassed Naruto can only throw his face away from Shirzuen with a pair of reddening cheeks. But if you just giving me those two choice the month. Naruto's words cut off when the woman in front of him took him by surprise and embraced him, her two feminine arms constrict his movement as her lips descend into his, capturing his lips in a searing and passionate kiss, one that quickly takes his breath away. Phased and lacking any experience, Naruto's hands are clutching onto Shirzuen's shoulders, trying and failing to push her off. Her soft, wet tongue is yet to stop ravaging the inner part of his mouth, so much that when he tried to move his tongue, she was quick to dominate and tame it, then finished the movement by sucking on his little tongue. Along with his air, it was explosive movement. By the time several minutes passed, Naruto already has a few black spots in his sight when the black-clad woman broke their kiss, leaving him dazed and gasping for air, not really saying anything. Shirzuen's arms are yet to release him, and actually pulled him closer and let him rest his face on the nape of her neck, and with this position she started to carry him bridal style. Feeling this and the movement she made as Shirzuen carefully walked to somewhere, Naruto let his body relaxes and wrapped his arms around her neck, his face nuzzling her nape with a redder blush on his cheeks. Shirzuen is beautiful. She has a warm and big pair of breasts. Their figure is just to die for. She has a great personality, and also her loyalty and love are on him, and on him alone. Really, Naruto just can't picture how the previous him can reject such a woman's advance. Shirzuen along with the others. Geez, he was so stupid. Later, Naruto came out of the bathroom with a rather big black-colored yukata covering his body. On top of his head, a white towel has been placed to dry his hair. Slowly, the yukata is Shirzuen's now. Naruto, it was his job to sort and check the incoming books that enter the said library. Of course, it does need to be said that he also checked and at least knows the previous coming books, and with his ample time, Naruto always spent his time reading books. The honestly almost read all of the books inside the library, but let's not talk about it right now. The library where he worked for years was full of literature. They even had so many books about romance, and of course with his ample time he also read those books, usually with a solemn smile on his face. It was his dream to have someone who can understand him, more so a woman that he can call his own, and so far everything he knows from the books here at his correct. The hug is warm and comforting, the kiss can be soft and romantic and yet can be passionate, and of course breasts are just addicting. This one is the one he hadn't believed at first. Like a normal boy of his age, Naruto was slowly trying everything here at Den would like to do with the others, and for the last few days he would sometime use the clothes worn by his women, mostly Shirzuen's and his top 10 guards. Their clothes are always warm, and every time he uses their clothes he would feel as if their hands were creeping onto his body and molesting him. The feminine smell in those clothes also never help in that matter, though of course the act of using female clothes made him feel like a pervert at first, but one time became 2 times, and 2 times became again and again. Naruto found himself liking the act, though of course he was forced to straighten Shirzuen and the others when they decided to enshrine the clothes that he wore, and told them that the moment they do such a thing again he would no longer use their clothes. He loves their dedication really, but some of their dedication just doesn't meet face to face with the dirty image inside his head, and yes, that's why he stopped them. As selfish after all. The Rito-sama, what are you writing, if I may ask? When the Rito once again sat on his chair writing something that he would want every people, mostly women in the world, read. At some point he hummed when he heard what Shirzuen asked. The woman is once again behind him, massaging his shoulders over her own yukata. Her eyes have been ogling some of his bare shoulders after her yukata loosened at some point, fortunately, or not really, considering your point of view, except for this act of ogling. Shirzuen does nothing else, the good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but thing because yes, he is currently writing, and thus any more than a massage than Shirzuen would disturb His concentration bad thing because he currently wants her to do more than massaging him his writing. Takes more importance though just a book that you and the others would read in the future for now. Just call it Ichivicha series, the books written by the infamous Toad-san and the books which is the bane of almost all women back in his world and yet on Oasis to most men there. Rito himself he read most of them and if he can be honest has glad he did in this world there is no lust exist between men and women and with such a situation many things changed for lack of a better term. One of those changes is obvious but outlust an intimate moment is not something anyone wants to do even if they were forced to do so. Such a thing led to one another but one of them would be the lack of positions of sex and a lack of foreplay actions, his and penetration. That's all this world's men and women know when it comes to intimate actions, hand job, low job, his jury and many other things this world population is yet to know about such things simply because to them intimate moments were not something they want to do. Yes, his guards did a group hand job for him, but that was more like an instinct telling them what to do. They don't even know what they were doing even though they liked the act. It made him devastated because with such a situation how can he enjoy this world to the fullest, and thus he planned to change this aspect of this world before he can start on his much grander plan to change the whole world. I see. Then may I ask you what it was about? Naruto-sama soft long and warm arms wind up around his shoulders when Naruto was too focused on his writing, caging him in a strong pair of Kanoika's arms, and right after she asked her question Sherzuen's face leaned down and blew his right ear followed by a soft kiss to it, an act that makes it turn red. Almost instantly Naruto didn't answer her question, too embarrassed because of her simulating actions. And from the fact she doesn't need the answer but just doing it's the scene he was writing. Lime scene tags no penetration years rape force him Burrito-sama Wechi a sexy voice and warm breath entered Naruto's ear when Sherzuen spoke, that followed by another warm blow right toward his ear hole with her arms already constricting him. It was easy for Sherzuen to hold his hands with one sleeve palm and cover his mouth and nose with her other sleeve palm with the latter's sleeve slightly bundled, silencing him and forcing him to smell her nice scented perfume. MNHH surprised and obviously pleasured Naruto mewled a little bit muffled because of the kimono sleeve stuffed into his face. He won't complain though, not when the kimono is very soft and nicely scented. Just as he was thinking like this his whole body became stiff when suddenly a warm tongue dove into his right ear, filling his mind with such a wet and lewd sound of slurping. His body turned stiff, his feet curled, and even his eyes lulled to the back of his head for a brief second. This is too go DMNNH stop. That was what he wanted to say, knowing what will Sherzuen will do in the next few minutes if she really going to follow the script he wrote. However, with his mouth covered by Sherzuen's sleeve-covered hand, what came out of his mouth is something akin to a mewl of pleasure. And hearing this, Sherzuen does the next scene a little bit early. Poof poof SSSH Naruto-sama. Ariella X, I will give you a lot of love SSSHSHS. Just like that, soft, suggesting sexy and warm words were said by Sherzuen as two sounds of poof can be heard, and right after she said it she dove her tongue once again deep into his right ear, blurring his sight from pleasure before he can even see what made those sounds. Knowing the script, they should be shadow clones. They got no time to complain. As before he can do such a thing, one of Sherzuen's shadow clones already take her place on his left side. Arcness took over his side as the clone used one of her sleeved hands to cover his eyes, while her other hand slipped into his yukata and started to molest him with the softness of kimono. Tummy, chest, nipples, she teases every part she could reach without any sign of stopping. So much that sometimes she would pinch his nipple, which she can only answer with another muffled mewl. As this happened, the shadow clone's lips were already beside his left ear, gently kissing the ear lobe and blowing the ear hole, and for some reason he had this feeling that the shadow clone is currently smirking at him. Ari, didn't the real me told you to relax? Naruto-sama SSSH relax. And Hylar sent you pervert, as dirty talk hit his left ear and lewd sound hit his right ear. Naruto's feet tried to move at the very least to get into a more preferable position. Tried, but was only after he tried that Naruto feel her. The last shadow clone has chosen to take the hold of his lower half, embracing his two legs with her whole body while blowing the tent on his underwear with her warm breath. No move, ill punish. Right after the third shadow clone's voice reached his plate ears, the Sherzuen under him began to push her plump cheek against his tent. Sometimes she would blow on it again and make a twitch, and before he can do anything or something The Sherzuan on his left decided that she got enough play and then she dove her tongue mngh. Naruto struggled hard when he feels his mind getting filled with a lewd sound of Sherzuan's licking on his left and right ears. Not only that, the fact he cannot see anything only makes him even more sensitive to the act she's doing, and the worst of all, right after Sherzuan heard his mule. She immediately thought it as her doing the right thing, but she fastened the movement of her and her shadow clone's tongues using chakra, raping his ears and mind with speed. Thrice then, before he was losing his mind, his feet curled and his penis throbbing under the constriction of his underwear. He can no longer hold it, and it was then as if connected to his mind Sherzuan's clone that just now merely blowing and rubbing his tent with her cheek pulled down his underwear, and then he dosed no boar mace. That's all he can sense in his groin area, and after that he exploded, followed by his body that fainted, inexperienced at anything sexual and cannot handle too much pleasure at once. All the while the slurping sounds still can be heard across the room as the trio keeps molesting him even after he passed out. Blime, and later when Naruto woke up his whole body feels pleasantly tingly all over. Best still sitting in his seat, though behind him Sherzuan is letting him use her bosom to act as a pillow, her gentle arms still wrapped around his shoulders. This time her palms do nothing except for one of them, which currently gently combing through his hair. Naruto saw him. Welcome back, and was it pleasurable for you? Just as Naruto tilted his face to the side so he can ask Sherzuan about the time, the woman asked him that right after she greeted him. Was it pleasurable? Was it? The dose need to be asked, right? But then again, knowing how different this world is compared to his, Naruto can only nod with a blush on his cheeks, and said blush became much redder when he saw Sherzuan smiling beautifully as if a weekend came earlier to her. I see, I'm glad to hear that then. Naruto-sama, may I do it again in the future? Again looking at Sherzuan's eyes, Naruto gulped when he took notice of her desire that seemingly become even deeper after she did things with him just a few minutes or hours ago. She's not satisfied with what they did. No, it's not that she's not satisfied. Her eyes in her eyes. If he was a bowl of ramen, then what she did is only taste his broth. She is yet to taste his noodle, his toppings, and anything else. Do her. What she did to him was just a small dip, a small taste test, as should he respond for all intent. He did say that what she did was very pleasurable to him, and thus if he refused to let her do such a thing in the future, it could be seen as him lying to her. Considering his words held such heavy weight in this world, Sherzuan could become depressed instantly, or worse, she would attempt suicide, just like how one Makoto Icha had did after previous. Naruto rejected her and called her an old and ugly woman. This question, it's more like a trap, one which he cannot dodge, though of course you can as long him not busy. He shuddered a little, but with his poker face already in its place, Naruto is sure that he looks calm on the outside. And hearing his answer, Sherzuan smiled become even wider as she leaned down and kissed him on the cheek, an act that cold made his poker face break, if not for him already expecting a said move from her. Of course, Naruto-sama, as much as love to do it again, your time is much more important. After all, please just tell me when you're free here. Naruto nodded. He don't really know when he was free and wants to be assaulted by Sherzuan again. After all, even if he wanted to do it, to be too embarrassing for him to ask her to do it. Thinking about it alone is enough to make him nervous. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Here Sherzuan hugs him once again. Her embrace is filled with nothing but warmth and affection, though it's not like he needs to sense this, because in the next second Sherzuan will say something that hit his heart like a sharp kunai. I love you so much. I'm Skip. It's here that last, the long-awaited so-called Naruto exam is here, standing on the roof of his own mansion, which was almost as tall as the Hokage's building, concealed by several layers of illusion cast by his guards. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw so many strong kunwatches run across the Kuno has building rooftops toward the forest of death, where the first exam gonna start. The pressure came from all of those John and level ninjas. It's terrifying. Help here. He can only gulp down his saliva once again, reminding him just how desirable he is to the female population in this world, though Haskin to put off by the fact he cannot see the exam while it is happening. No, it's more like he can do it, but the previous Naruto only descended to the masses when the fourth and final exam happened. It's like to the past Naruto, those who failed the first to the third exam are not qualified to see him. What a bastard. What do you think, Naruto-sama? Was any of them to your liking? Any of them? What, the most, if not all of those women are in their prime of 20 to 30 years old with the power of Jonin, which means all of them train their body and mind to the edge every single day to better themselves. To him, all of those women are beautiful, and no, it's not because he saw their photos honest, really honest perhaps, but I will hold back my opinion for now. The very wise decision, Naruto-sama, who knows, maybe some of them might take you by surprise. Heard the words said by his assistant. Naruto hummed a little. Cannot deny what Shirzum said. Most of the applicants easily Jonin level kunoichi, and some of them can even be considered cage level kunoichi. But who knows, maybe some Jonin level kunoichi might have what it takes to defeat a cage level kunoichi, whether it is from surprise or from some sort of special ability. Whatever it is, he can only wait patiently as the special guests arrive. Shirzum, the 5 daimyos of the 5 great countries in the elemental nation, 4 of the other cage of the other great hidden villages, several daimyos of smaller countries, and some leaders of the small yet famous village. But the Naruto exam was held. Everyone was invited, more so the people who stand atop the hierarchy. They have Naruto-sama. The last to arrive was the new daimyo of the great fire country, Yukumo Kurama. She sent a letter asking for a meeting between her and you. From what I can see, she probably will try to court you again. Will you accept this meeting? Unlike the Chuanin exam, where the said exam was held for a whole month or more because the applicants need to wait for the VIP guests, the Naruto exam actually dares those VIPs to be late. It was said the village that dare to do it will disappear from the map on the very next day. If you cannot come, say it on be late. I see, and yes, I'll meet her, Naruto said with a small nod, accepting the new fire daimyo's invitation to a meeting where she will try to court him for his hand in marriage. He is honestly kinda confused about the whereabouts of the previous daimyo, considering the man got his throne overthrown, but as the thought always keep pulling him into the darker imagination, Naruto decides to not delve deeper into his own thinking and curiosity. The Kumo Kurama, the woman that once tried to become a Kenweichi yet failed because of the lack of understanding her teacher had for her bloodline, and yes, that's all the information he has about the new daimyo. If he excluded the information about her bloodline, which let her do a jinjitsu that can affect reality for real but terrifying power anyway, that's all he knows about the young woman. He doesn't really know how Yukumo in the past ended up becoming a strong woman, nor does he know from where she got her drive to topple the great power that was the great fire daimyo. Before she will try to court him, or I next month should be a good tea this night. Cut off the word said by Shirzum. Naruto gave her a small look of don't ask me something, which the woman accepted almost immediately. Tell Yukumo send ill letter to pick me up this night. For a few seconds Shirzum did nothing but stare at him with a mysterious expression, but in the end she nodded. The fat's what you wish. Naruto saw my guards. You heard him. Several guards that circled him disappeared, running fast toward the direction of the Kurama clan compound. The empty slots they left behind were quickly filled by the other guards that came out of nowhere. Really, these people are so powerful that Naruto feels self-conscious sometimes, but they all love him and he will do his best to return their feeling. Unlike the previous Naruto, that's a promised data bow. Of course this Yukumo Kurama, he will return her feeling too, just like he will return the feeling of every woman in this new life of him. He won't let anyone go. Kurama clan compound. I'm Yosama. You have a message from Naruto's Sama heap in the already upgraded, previously not impressive clan compound. A woman with brown hair sat regally on top of a big stage with several paper screens and samurai around her. Overed from neck to toe by several layers of high-class kimono, the woman covered the lower part of her face with her sleeve, gently, eyes coldly staring at the samurai, bringing the message from Naruto. Say then, do not waste my time, human. Why yes, the messenger shuddered fearfully, and after he did, he told the new fire daimyo of Naruto's message. By the end of his report, the messenger bowed low and excused himself, leaving the now deep and thinking regal daimyo named Yukumo Kurama. Why would Naruto suddenly want to meet her so quick, asking her to pick him up today, unlike usual where she would need to wait for about 3 to 4 months? Behind her sleeve a cold smile appears on Yukumo's face. Naruto Uzumaki, are you that impatient to reject me once again? The previous fire daimyo was nothing in his eyes, and thus it is not possible for him to suddenly give her face just because she got such a measly title, and thus he must be planning to reject her. Advance once again, her mind concluded. I'm Yosama. I suggest for you to not take this information for granted. However, Naruto-sama, who previously rejected a court from the Koto Akia, was seen giving the Uchiha matriarch his good luck and expecting the woman to be his right-hand woman. Once the exam and duo now that's curious Makoto Uchiha who dost know the woman who killed her whole clan to protect Naruto from their evil plan. The woman is revered through the elemental nation and titled as Naruto Shield, where every single day all women across the world can only wish to be a woman like her who protects the great Naruto from the shadow. Even someone as powerful as Makoto Uchiha had to face the music. Sometimes the bigger chakra reserves a woman has, the bigger their breasts would be and the longer and harder they train their body, the more definite their muscles will be and the more shapely their body will become. All of those are ugly in the eyes of any man, and Naruto is no different no matter how powerful Makoto Uchiha she is ugly and old in the eyes of Naruto Uzumaki. I see, that's one curious news, all right, but my plan will not change quick. In every preparation I'll pick up Naruto this night and court him. Here a charming yet evil smile can be seen on the gorgeous face of Yakumo Kurama as her eyes glowed with red light for a brief second. If you refuse, then it'll have no choice but to kidnap him, be rejected, or once she won't let him reject her twice. She will have him or die trying. Of that she vowed to herself. He doesn't like this at all. He had thought when he accepted Yakumo Kurama's invitation, they would have a normal date with her picking him up and then spending their time together romantically, like the romance novel he had read in the past. And yet, here he is, being tortured by his own assistant before anything can even start. How about this, Naruto-sama? These fabrics was imported from the land of the crescent moon, and very soft and cool to the touch. I am pretty sure you won't feel so hot inside the wagon if you wear these. In the middle of his own chamber, Naruto let out a regretful sigh as he can no longer feel his hands that has been spreading to his left and right for so long. He is wearing several layers of high-class silk on his body, and in front of him is Shizune. In her hands, several more kimonos can be seen, each with its own color and flair that make them unique in its own right. He has been doing this for several hours already. Is this how royalty spend their time? Wearing so many silks so they look better in the eyes of the masses. Now, he wore kimono of course, but as a commoner, the layer of silk he wore is 2 to 3 layers at best. Now, on his body alone, Naruto already counted 12 layers, and the inner layer is also kinda heavy, weighing him down and making him feel rather uncomfortable. Shizune, enough, Naruto spoke sharply, and after he did, he wasted no time disrobing everything, and let all the expensive silks he wore fall to the floor, leaving him bare except for the last layer of his inner kimono, which is a simple white and sleeveless kimono that merely reach his thigh. And after he took a black obi lay on his feet, Naruto tied it to his waist. Seeing his action in the fact he's only using 1 layer of kimono, in front of him, Shizune's eyes widened. And then, Naruto-sama, how can you just use 1 layer of kimono for your date with a daimyo? It might give wrong impression, or are you planning to disrespect Yakumo Kurama from the start? Hearing the words said by Shizune, Naruto's eyes held a tint of uncomfortable. She's not wrong per se. Formerly, even commoners would use 3 to 4 layers of kimono before they go out, while those from royalty would wear more than 12 layers. If he wore 1 layer of kimono on his date with Yakumo Kurama, the new daimyo might think it as him disrespecting him. Guard, send my message to Yakumo-san. In front of Naruto, one of his guards knelt down in silence, waiting for the message that her master will impart and trust her to send to the new female daimyo of Fire Country. Seeing this, Naruto nodded a little. Tell her this. With Yakumo Kurama, he said, that sat on her stage. The new daimyo held nothing but intrigue in her eyes. Around her, her trusty guards also seemed confused after they heard the new message sent by the great Naruto of all people. Hi, daimyo-sama, all right. Thank you, you're excused. Shuffled her sitting position. Yakumo Kurama covered her mouth with her large sleeve regally. In her eyes, a telltale of confusion can be seen. Naruto Uzumaki, he sent her a message, telling her that he wants to use nothing but a single layer of silk for his clothing, topped by hori. It was not a sign of disrespect, he also said, and for proof, he even let her be the one to choose the clothing among her own collection, for him to use on their date. He wants to use her kimono. That sounds so very exciting and positive for her. Naruto Uzumaki, from the word of the street, the boy was a cold and very calculating person, one who never let anyone get too close to his personal space, more so kunoichi or even normal females that can use chakra for everyday use. Forget touching him, Naruto won't even touch a cloth touched by any female, no matter how high class the material is. The fact he's letting her choose kimono from her collection for him to use, it was more than a positive response for her courting later this night. It is a sign that she's allowed to enter his personal space. I am still confused, but I'll spend my time to search for some good kimono for Naruto to use for now. Guards, tell anyone who want to see me that I'll not be available for the time being. Understood. Daimyo-sama regally. Yakumo Karima shifted her position and stood, and thus, she walked toward her main chamber with a calm gait with each step. Her mind, though, still reeling from the fact Naruto of all people wants to use her clothing. It made a smile blossom on her lips and blush to paint her cheeks. Maybe, just maybe, she will be able to call Naruto as hers later this night. The thought alone is enough to make her fasten her steps a little bit. There are still several hours before her appointed time for their date to arrive, but she doesn't want to waste every second of it, not when she will spend several hours of it to apply makeup for herself. Naruto is a perfect being. He will look better than any man in the world even with nothing but t-shirt. But she is a slightly special mortal, but she's still a mortal nonetheless. She must do everything she can to make her body, face, and everything else looks better in front of such a perfect being like Naruto. For now, let's search for the highest class kimono she can find in her collection for her future husband to use. Hyuga clan compound. That doesn't sound good. Behind a table, a rather young teen said while putting her live hand on her chin. In her narrowed eyes, a glint of calculation can be seen as she stares hard at the messenger that gave her the bad news. The messenger herself looks terrified of the young teen across from her. I am sorry that I gave you such bad news, Hanabi-sama, but I assure you that the news is new and just happened few minutes ago. I didn't waste my time before I told you about it. I see. Then you're excused. Thank you so much, Hanabi Hyuga-sama. The female messenger was quick to flick her off from the room after the young teen told her to go, leaving one still deep in thinking. Hyuga behind said Hyuga is tapping the table with a small hint of irritation in her eyes. Oni-sama want like this development, the girl muttered silently as she activated her famous bloodline to check on her sister, Hinata. Hyuga's condition in the forest of death. The woman is doing fine, so much that she is actually decimating John and level kunoichi left and right without even looking. Seeing this, Hanabi that taking her big sister's place while said sister fighting in the Naruto exam can only exhale a heavy sigh full of regret. She cannot do anything to change the situation. Naruto Uzumaki already made his move, and to any party in the elemental nation, his move is always a checkpoint. You cannot change it no matter what you do. And yes, he held that much power in the world, and now he made his move and accept the Fire Daimyo's date invitation. All parties can only wait for the conclusion of their date. Sure, anyone could go and make it hard for the new Fire Daimyo, but new or not, Daimyo is still a Daimyo, and their power is not to be underestimated. The ones who could be daring enough to sabotage Yakumo Karima right now are only the other 4 great Daimyos. But with the other 4 great Daimyos being males and all, they probably won't try such a thing and take a chance of making an enemy out of the new Fire Daimyo. Sadly, it is a check from the Yakumo Karima's party and will become a checkmate if she somehow succeeds to court Naruto. The chance for such a thing would be very slim, though. Oni-sama, you better take Makoto-sama place as Naruto-sama right-hand woman, cause if not, you won't be able to do anything to change this situation. The young teen muttered to herself, Byokugan deactivated, as she no longer wishes to see the situation of her dearest big sister. She can handle herself first, second, third, and even fourth test. Hinata should be able to handle herself. The real problem will come in the new test where all succeeding contestants will fight against each other and even the people from Naruto's own guards to get the position of his left and right hands. It will be a very hard test for Hinata, no matter how strong she is. In the forest of death Pants is crazy, yeah, you could say it again. Ino and Sakura said to each other while hiding behind a rather large tree, panting very heavily with sweat covering their whole tired body. Survive, that's the theme of the first test of the Naruto exam. For 3 full days, they and the other contestants must survive the harsh condition of the forest of death while doing their best to sabotage each other. Trap, take all of the edible mushrooms for themselves and leave nothing for the others. Even attacking while the other party is asleep. Every plan is plausible and allowed except for killing blows. A contestant failed the moment they passed out, where the seal on the back of their hand will flare when they did, teleporting them out from the forest and to the hospital almost instantly. The seal was made by the genius of sealing jutsu, Jiraiya. I think we should look for a cave to hide. After all, in no time the sun will set. Sakura Haruno said calmly, which got her a nod from her best friend, Ino Yamanaka. Teaming up is not forbidden, it actually means they have a good head on their shoulders and can work with each other in a dangerous situation. Like the statement above, every single plan is plausible. Then I'll check our surrounding, please guard my body as I do so, Sakura. I will. With that statement from her friend, Ino Yamanaka knelt down and went into her clan pose before she used her clan's famed jutsu. And with that, Ino's body fell backward into the tree's stump as her spirit flew off from her body. The test is just starting with Naruto, once again sitting on the rooftop of his mansion and surrounded by Shizune and his guards. Naruto calmly eats some snacks while marveling at the sight of several explosions that happened in the forest of death. Those John and Kunoichi, they're really going at it, it seems. Survive. In the first test, the contestants' every single survival ability will be tested, from their durability, their power, their awareness of danger, and even their knowledge of edible and non-edible plants. Those who lack even one of them will be most likely to fail. In this first test alone, more than half contestants probably will fail because they also must eliminate each other, so the remaining contestants will have enough plants to eat. A very effective test. Naruto thought to himself. He might not like the fact that the previous him was a tyrant in this world, but nonetheless, he cannot disagree that Naruto, who made such a test, is definitely a genius and knew what he was doing. And yeah, he also doesn't mind thinking like this because he is also Naruto, so when he complimented previous Naruto, he actually also complimented himself. Naruto is a genius, he just can't deny that single fact. Shizune, can you get my novel? I'd like to write something. The first of his ICHA series is yet to complete and still needs around 30% more words or so before he can release it to the world. Of course, ever since what Shizune did to him when he first wrote the book, Naruto rarely let her or the others read it when he was writing, as no matter how pleasurable it was to get assaulted by such a beautiful woman, he doesn't want them to do so. When he was being serious, it just feels wrong, though maybe it was just his embarrassment talking. Naruto-sama, while I have no right to order you around, as your assistant, I heavily suggest you to go to your study room if you want to write. I, for one, wouldn't want your heavenly skin to be scorched under the sunlight for too long. You a heavenly skin? What the hell is that? And what does Shizune mean by sunlight now? With the time almost afternoon, the sun isn't that high and soon will set. It is cool and calm at the moment, and yet she's afraid to see him sitting for too long under the sunlight. But still, a small and cute smile blossomed on Naruto's lips as his cheeks painted pink, feeling happy and warm at her worries for his well-being. The women in this world might worry after him too much and coddle after him like no other, but in the end he won't be angry. He is happy. Oh, okay then, Shizune, though, would you mind making me a cup of tea? The cup you made last time is really nice. Of course, Naruto-sama, if that's what you wish for. Popped a few of his bones nicely. Naruto stood from his previous position, eyes staring at the forest of death for several more minutes before, in the end, he nodded to himself and turned around. He is not a ninja. Why? Even his biography didn't tell him anything. For all intent, this world Naruto did graduate from the Ninja Academy with ease, and yet Naruto doesn't have an answer to his question. Nonetheless, he needs to do this one step at a time. Ninja or not, He is currently someone sitting in a very high position. His every movement and action would have their consequence if he's not being careful enough. He doesn't want to know about what happened to the previous fire daimyo and his family. Not at all. Naruto-sama, the kimono from the daimyo has arrived. So fast. And here he wanted to write a few paragraphs for his novel. Oh well, an hour or so later, Naruto came out of his chamber with a noble white shirt and sleeveless kimono with a golden dragon marking on the chest, followed by a simple black hakama for the bottom. The pair might not like much, but these clothes are really soft to the touch and not hot to use. You look perfect, Naruto-sama, you look perfect, Naruto-sama. You look perfect, Naruto-sama. Several guards outside the door said immediately the moment they see him, not even wasting a single second to compliment him. And of course, hearing such a thing, Naruto's cheeks bloom with pink almost immediately. Behind him, Shizune was ogling him without any shame whatsoever. Ahem, thanks everyone. Anyway, when will Yakumo-san pick me up? Shizune? Embarrassed and seldom complimented back in his previous world, Naruto can only cough into his palm as he tries to side away from the compliments given to him. Yes, he is rather shy about it. Probably in half an hour or so. Naruto-sama, though, how many guards are you planning to bring with you on your date? Fortunately, Shizune doesn't take notice of his shyness, or even if she did, doesn't seem intent to comment on it. Though, hearing her question, Naruto tilts his head slightly, rather confused. Want Yakumo-san bring her samurai to be our guards though? Of course, she will, Naruto-sama, but you can't never be too careful when it comes to your own safety. That's kinda true, but to bring guards when it should be a date between him and a woman who loves him, it just sounds kind of strange no matter how many times he thinks about it. Plus, Yakumo probably will bring her own samurai guards. The guards of Fire Daimyo. If that's not enough to guarantee his safety, then Naruto wouldn't know what. So, then let's not bring any. For today with Yakumo Karima. Using her highest class kimonos and 20 layers of it, Yakumo Karima sat regally within the confinement of her large wagon. Her eyes are closed behind her face cover, trying and failing to calm down her heavily beating heart. And then, she felt it as her wagon being lowered. A sign of them already arrived. So fast, the door then opened, and one of her samaris is quick to kneel down in nothing but reverence in front of the door. Daimyo-sama, we have arrived. Currently, Yakumo Karima nodded and slowly walked out of her wagon to greet her soon-to-be husband. Today she must do more than her best to court Naruto Uzumaki. If she failed, well, failure is not an option. She will kidnap him and force him against his will to be her husband if that's what she must do to gain his compliance. If that plan also failed, well, she would rather kill herself. After all, what life without Naruto Uzumaki by her side? But all of her negativity, her pessimistic thinking, all of it disappeared the moment she lay her eyes on him, standing in front of his grand mansion with a small smile on his face. Just as he promised, he is wearing her kimono that is wrapped snugly against his perfect body and shows the perfect amount of his perfect skin on his neck and shoulders, though for some reason, he is yet to use the hori she gave him. Probably because the day is not that cold yet. Nonetheless, when she lay her eyes on him, only one thing crossed her usually dark and cold mind. Perfect, behind him, two women regarding him with slightly strange glares toward her. Why are they glaring at her? She got her answer when Naruto himself ran toward her direction and took her right hand, and with a strange impatience in his voice, he said something to her. Come on, Yakumo-san. Let's get out of here before Shizune forced some guards to follow me. His words were followed by a small titter, though not really catching up to what he said. Yakumo can only stare at him blankly, watching his smile that makes her tummy flutter happily. Over her sleeve, she can feel the warmth that is his hand. Once they took their seat, Yakumo's heart began to calm down as her eyes stares at the boy sitting across from her that, looking at the outside, still with a small smile on his lips. She just finished digesting his previous words. He is not bringing his guards. Isn't that just a plain sign of his full trust in her? But still, my name is Yakumo Karima, the new Fire Daimyo Fire Country. It is to my happiness that you accepted my invitation within such a short notice, Naruto-sama. After she said this, Yakumo gently kneels down and take his right hand into her palms, then kissed it politely. Her heavy attire made it rather hard to do, but knowing her uncomfortable feeling is of small importance compared to her formal greeting toward the boy sitting across from her. She did it without any complaint. And right after she kissed his palm, a soft, polite smile blossomed on her face. I hope you'll enjoy today's date with me and may we part away with happiness in our hearts. With Naruto, when Naruto saw Yakumo Karima walk off of her wagon, he felt something strange and familiar aura coming from her. Clad in so many layers of crimson kimono, Naruto is not able to see her figure hidden under her layer after layer of kimono. The only thing he took notice of is the pair of rather tall as sandals she wears, which made her stand taller than a normal female human simply because the lower kimono of hers has a small slit that shows him her feet and a little bit of her legs. Not only that, she is also covering her head with crimson silk, something which makes him cannot see her face except for her red, shiny lips. In simpler terms, the only skin he can see from this Yakumo Karima is nothing but her lips to the upper part of her neck, while the rest was covered by her clothing. Unlike him, she really looks like a noble, but still, that looks so much hot and uncomfortable, something that would have made him sweat if not for him that sense a glare of hatred toward Yakumo from Shizune and the strongest of his guards. Not going to lie, while it was really sweet of them to be worried for his well-being, glaring at the daimyo of their country is still a big no matter what. Yeah, Yakumo usurped the position in all, but you got the gist. Brand toward the new daimyo. Naruto took her hand and pulled her toward her wagon, smiling slightly at her, hoping that he won't be seen as rude for doing such a thing. Come on, Yakumo-san. Let's get out of here before Shizune forced some guards to follow me. Whether the woman hears him or not, Naruto doesn't know because he cannot see her face behind her veil, nor does the woman in question give him any gesture in response to his words. Nonetheless, she doesn't seem to refuse his action as she let him lead her toward her wagon. Strange, that's what Naruto thought after several minutes passed without Yakumo Karima saying anything to him and seemingly consenting by staring at him from behind her crimson veil. Something that really made him feel slightly self-conscious and led him to stare at the Kanahaha outside with a nervous smile on his lips. Oh, what should he do now? Fortunately, he didn't need to wait for much longer because just as he thought that, the female daimyo broke the ice surrounding them. My name is Yakumo Karima, the new fire daimyo of Fire Country. It is to my happiness that you accepted my invitation within such a short notice, Naruto-sama. Her voice is cold, emotionless, and yet with a tint of wanting. And hearing such a thing, Naruto smiled softly toward her, for now ignoring her strangeness in the familiar aura he sensed from her. For all intent, she was probably just nervous now that she met him. Before he can answer her sentence, Yakumo Karima already knelt down and took his right hand, then politely kissed the back of the said hand with her red rosy lips, leaving a lipstick marking on it. Embarrassed, a blush bloomed on Naruto's cheeks. I hope you'll enjoy today's date with me and may we part way with happiness in our hearts. Why yeah, it is my pleasure to meet you too, Yakumo-san. Not really liking and familiar with such fancy words, Naruto can only shudder when he said his words, hoping what he said wasn't a bad choice or worse, the wrong sentence to answer the woman in front of him. Fortunately, the woman doesn't feel offended at this and merely lets out a small, mysterious smile on her lips as she returned to her seat, where she continues her staring. 3 seconds after he is staring at her, the woman's smile disappeared as she straightened her sleeve and covered her mouth with it. I am sorry if my ugliness makes you uncomfortable, Naruto-sama. What? He was just staring for about 3 seconds and that's what her mind concluded. It seems even with everything she has done, her mind is still just like the other women he met in this world. Insecure toward themselves when it comes to him. MNN, it's alright, I actually staring, because I thought your makeup and attire seems nicely done, Naruto said quickly, giving the woman across from him a white lie. And yeah, her attire, makeup, and even her fragrant perfume are nicely done, but he actually staring at her because he wanted to. After all, what kind of date when the people on said date don't stare at each other, right? Afufu, is that so? It eases my heart and makes me really happy if you think so. As a telltale of happiness creep into Yakumo's voice, Naruto nodded inwardly. She must have spent hour after hour getting everything ready, unlike him who finished his attire in less than half an hour. Now that he thinks again, he is pretty rude. Huh? Using one layer of kimono in all. Oh well, I do think so, so what's the plan for today, Yakumo-san? Hearing his question, Yakumo Kurama lowered her sleeve slightly, which let him see her mysterious smile once again. For now, let's have a dinner with? Is it really all right to leave our master in her hands? Of course not. Follow them. I want you to keep your eyes peeled for anything that may harm him. But his order, he'll take the punishment if he somehow took notice of your presence. And thus, here she is kneeling on top of the rooftop while staring at the slowly moving wagon with nothing but focus in her eyes. Behind her, several of her sisters doing the same. Girls, spread out, make sure to keep yourself well hidden. We will not let even a single strand of Naruto-sama hair got hurt this time. Understood as one, the elite guards of Naruto answered her sentence. And hearing this, she, the strongest among them, nodded to herself. Move like ghosts. Everyone began to disappear one by one, until she alone is left kneeling on that particular rooftop. All the while, her eyes never left the slow-moving wagon. She will protect him. That's her oath as his guard. A dinner sat in the VIP seat of the most extravagant restaurant in Konoha. Naruto is eating with as much politeness as he can muster. Basically said, none. These foods are so delicious. In front of him, Yakumo Karama, the new fire daimyo, is still watching him with a mysterious smile on her red lips. Now, she's hot and all. The fact she was covering her whole body and calling herself ugly alone made sure he knows that she should be beautiful in his eyes. But still, beauty or not, being stared at for a whole hour is slowly making him feel self-conscious. Why, Yakumo-san? Are you not going to eat your food? Naruto asked, trying to be polite about it. And to answer his question, the woman across from him merely widens her smile that she quickly hides behind her wide sleeve. She's so ladylike in his eyes. I will, Naruto-sama, I am just mesmerized by your face that I lost my desire to eat for a second. Honesty is clear as a glass came out from her lips. And hearing this, Naruto can't help but blush and scratched his cheek a few times. Embarrassed and nervous, of course, he also doesn't know what to say to answer such a sentence. Oh wait, WL, you should eat it before it's cold. And please tone it down with sama suffix. I heard you want to see court me. So, why don't you start by calling me by name? Whether what he said is the right thing to do, Naruto doesn't know. But he became worried as the regal woman across from him turned silent for a few minutes, though she broke the silence with a nod after said minutes passed harmlessly. Her hand, still clad in her sleeve, went and hovered above the plate of her food, hiding its sight from him. Wait, what? I'm done here, Naruto, how about you? Have you comfortable enough to continue our night? You, as the woman pulled her sleeved hand away from the plate, followed by her words, Naruto can only turn silent and blink a few times in confusion. The plate is clean. What's that? Why yeah, I have nodded. Naruto let out a small smile toward Yakumo, not gonna ask as it could be rude in her eyes, and heard his words. The woman stood first, then walked to his side, offering her sleeve-covered palm to him. Grateful for the romantic gesture, Naruto shyly took her palm and followed suit. And thus, they walked out of the restaurant. The night is still young. Later he sensed them, sat in the inside of the fire daimyo's wagon once. Again, Naruto stared outside while letting out a small hum of curiosity. Those silent presences on the roof, his guards. I am glad to see you're enjoying our walk, Naruto. Yakumo Kurama said from across from him after she heard him humming, thinking it as him enjoying their time together, and realized this. Naruto let out a small polite smile. He already asked her, and from what she said, after their dinner, the next plan would be a Ride inside the wagon under the moonlight. It would be better if they were walking, if he can be honest. More romantic too, but guess the daimyo and someone like him cannot be seen by the masses. Doing something as common as walking. A con for his situation, as he actually would like to walk. Together with Yakumo, just the two of them. Why yeah, I am really enjoying this. No, not really, but he can't say it right to that smiling face of Yakumo's. For all intent, she's really happy to do something like this with him, so, at the very least, he cannot say he doesn't like the activity, as it could make the woman upset. The weight of his words here is very heavy, he must take care not to say something wrong. Good. If it's not a problem for you, why don't you come here? I promise I won't do anything that would make you uncomfortable. Gently, the woman spread her legs, and patted the shirt in the middle of it, and Naruto, seeing the gesture, blushed lightly. From this distance alone, he can already smell her overpowering smell of perfume. Can he really take it from a closer distance? But that smile of hers, geez, he just can't refuse, can he? Then please excuse me. Shyly, Naruto stood from his position and sat in the middle of Yakumo's shirt, between her long legs, facing the same direction as hers, and right after he did, her legs gently raised and captured his lower half with the softness of high-class silk. At the same time, her right hand wrapped itself around her waist and pulled him much closer to her body, where she then put her chin on top of his head, though not really finding any problem. With this action, Naruto's two hands gently clutched her sleeve, while he leans his back at her soft body. Though Yakumo's body is kinda cold for some reason. Yakumo sang, "Why don't you tell me about yourself? After all, I really want to know your reason for wanting to court me." "Sure, I guess that would also make us a bit closer, huh?" "Why yeah," nodded. Naruto shuddered a little as the daimyo wrapped her previously free hand against his body, effectively trapping him within her embrace. "I guess it would. Then, I guess it'll start with the day where I wish to become a ninja for the great Kanahagakure no Sato." Oh, her words are bitter, but as she already started, Naruto can do nothing but hear her out as Yakumo began to explain her whole life story for him, bare for him to discern how he saw fit. It was saddening. If Hinata's story had been upsetting, then Yakumo's story is definitely puke-inducing. The previous Hokage, Harrison, tried to seal Yakumo's power. After no teachers succeed to teach her anything chakra-related, that they have no right to do such a thing. I am sorry to hear that happened to you, Yakumo, Naruto said, as he turned his position so he can face her, and once he did, he wraps his arms around her neck and put his face on her nape where he can inhale her mature, yet the rather overbearing scent of perfume behind him. Yakumo's arms locked together as she returned his small hug. All the while, she's letting out a small hum. "It is of no problem. I killed the third Hokage. In the end, he got what he signed for," the woman said simply as if she were talking about the weather, and Naruto himself, cannot be seen by her eyes, held a small sad look on his face for a small second. This world's Hiruzen might not be his grandfather figure, but to hear the man was killed is still rather upsetting. That old man deserved it, though he just can't say anything to oppose that. Why yeah, he did. The two then spent their time in that position, hugging each other. But after several more minutes of hugging, Naruto broke their hugs with a very red blush on his cheeks, feeling very embarrassed as he returns to his previous position where he faces the same direction as Yakumo as he's sitting on her lap. His heart beating fast for some strange reason. And not only that, but his body also feels kinda sluggish. What's happening? "You're so adorable," again. Yakumo Kurama wraps her arm around his chest from behind, though this time said arm not only locking his position but also his arms that now cannot be moved. "Yua. SSH, don't be afraid," with the gentleness of a lover, Yakumo's other arms slung around his neck as her sleeved palm lovingly touched every inch of his face, forcing him to smell the overpowering scent of her perfume that stabbed his nostril. He cannot move. To speak alone is already pretty hard for him, but still, despite this, Naruto is trying his best to keep his cool to calm down his frantically beating heart. What did you do? Every word's making his body feel even more sluggish, but Naruto still forced those words to come out of his mouth. and after he did, his eyes feel blurry and his face became unhealthy red. At the same time, his breath became ragged as if he just ran around Kona several times. More like from shock than anything else, Yakumo Karama let out a small laugh here. Fufufu, you're still able to talk even now. As expected of my soon-to-be husband, her words are warm, loving, gentle, and yet, with so much desire hidden behind all of these as she leaned her face, and whispered those words right to his ear. As for your answer, it's simple really. I just mixed my perfume with a heavy dose of aphrodisiac. I was planning to use this to capture you, just in case you reject me again honestly, but seeing we had a great time together, I am pretty sure you will accept my hand in marriage now. Inside Yakumo's embrace, Naruto widens his eyes, shocked that Yakumo was planning to kidnap him if he rejected her. But then why? Why would she do this to him if she knew he was having a great time with her, which equals to a very low chance of him rejecting her? It doesn't make any sense. Good. You're no longer struggling now. Then let's do our first night now. As gently as she could, Yakumo pushed down his body to the sofa with him. Cannot do anything. As she doing this, too weak and sluggish to make any difference. Thus, a few seconds later Naruto lay on the sofa facing upward while Yakumo herself above him, smiling beautifully with a pair of rosy cheeks as she sat on his waist. She's so beautiful, but still, why Yakumo? There's something that I need to say. After he forced that off his throat, Naruto was greeted by Yakumo that turned silent for a few seconds, pretty much shocked that he was still able to talk despite the heavy amount of aphrodisiac he inhaled, where most people would have turned into a blushing and panting mess by now. But then, she let out a knowing smile, as expected from you, Naruto, but I guess he'll hear you out for now, considering I am now your fiancé. Her smile is a kind one as she leaned down her whole body and pressed it into his smaller frame, caging him in another prison of softness as he can no longer move his body. Her face is on his cheek after she did this, giving said cheek kisses of nothing but love and desire. Naruto can only let out a small mewl as she doing this. His breath gets a little bit more frantic. After the woman presses all of the weight of her sexy body on him. And the kisses, her perfume smells nice, her breath smells nice, and if not for him that need to say something to her, Naruto would gladly let Yakumo devour his mouth using those sexy lips of hers while her hands harassing his body. If you want to be my fiancé, I have one requirement, and this is non-negotiable. Honestly, Naruto feels kind of fortunate because of the drug he inhaled, considering without it, he probably won't be able to say that without being a nervous and blushing mess. But since the drug already made him blush, well, you know what he means. No need for a poker face here, MNN, of course my dear. Tell me what you want, wealth, power, armies of samurai, it'll give you anything, whatever it is. Dark, dark and evil chakra emitted from the woman's body as she said those words possessively after she presses her forehead against his, smiling happily as she hovers her lips a centimeter away from his lips. Unbothered by this, mostly because of his currently hot and needy body, Naruto's eyes turn half-lidded as he stares at the woman with nothing but calmness. And as calmly as possible, he then said it, And right after Naruto said his words, everything disappears. The pressure, the darkness, and even the desire that previously emit from Yakumo like tidal waves disappears completely. Right after she heard his words. In their place, Yakumo can do nothing but become silent. Speechless. No word can describe her current state better than that single word. And as this happens, Naruto merely keeps his own silent despite his raging heartbeat and tomato-red cheeks. Later late at night, a regal wagon can be seen stopping in front of a huge mansion of Naruto, and stood in front of the entrance of said mansion or dozens of guards who already make two lines, on the left and right side to greet their lord. Despite the time, they still look prime and proper. And then the wagon door opened. Welcome home, Naruto-sama. All of the guards said at the same time as Naruto himself stepped out from the wagon of the daimyo with a polite smile on his face. Seeing this, Naruto's smile becomes larger with a hint of blush painting his cheeks. Then, he turned around and watches as Yakumo Karama gave him a small polite nod which he returned with his own nod. And after this, she closed the door the wagon was carried off with. That, leaving Naruto who merely watch all of this happen. I want you to know that I will marry other women in the future. A harem, that was his requirement to Yakumo if she really want to become his fiancée and future wife. Of course, the daimyo was so shocked that she had spent her hours thinking and thinking without any answer to give. In the end, she didn't give him any and merely return him to his house. Then again, it must be a hard pill to swallow, so he understood why she was hesitating. For now, let's not think about it. He inhaled a large amount of aphrodisiac, and despite the hours past, his legs still feel like a pair of jellies. If he can be honest. Shizune. Naruto whispered a name as he feels a familiar presence walking to his side. Yes, Naruto-sama? Is there something you need from me? The black-haired woman said, while bowing low beside him, and after Naruto turned his body around, he let her see his real condition. Uneven breath, red face. Naruto-sama. See, can you take me to my bed? My legs feel so heavy. For a small second, Naruto tumbled, of course, before he can fall. Shizune was quick to catch him. In her embrace with a pair of narrow eyes, her hands possessively holding into his body while glaring at the direction the new fire daimyo went to. Did she do anything and appreciate to you, Naruto-sama? The woman asked with worry in her tone, considering her words and also because she's a ninja medic. Shizune must be realized what kind of drug did he inhale, Naruto concluded. Oh, better calm her down before she decides to rally his guards to attack Yakumo. Just some aphrodisiac Tebio, I am alright, but my head's kinda hurting, please get me to my bed. This Shizune shall comply. Naruto-sama, albeit hesitant to leave Yakumo Karima to her own device. After what she did, Shizune in the end let out a large sigh. She took Naruto's body in her arms and start carrying him bridal style. She still decides that he won't get any more assault, though. Strengthen the perimeter around the mansion. The guards complied without any word, disappearing completely into the darkness as all of them went to their post. Nodded. Shizune soon walked to the mansion with her master in her arms. When Naruto walked out of the bathroom with his sleeping wear, he exhaled a rather shaken sigh. He had a cold bath just now, and the heat on his groin and the pink haze in his mind is yet to dissipate, both still making him feel lustful and bothered. No wonder some men in his previous world became perverts like Jiraiya. This pleasant feeling of lust, it's not something anyone could easily dissipate no matter what you do. Then again, he's in a world where he is the lustful target of all women, so lust would be something he cannot run from as long as he lives here. And he would choose this world over his without a second thought. Because here he is wanted. Guard? Yes, Naruto-sama. As he took the seat on his bed, Naruto called one of his guards. And as a woman with a fox mask appeared and kneeled on one knee, Naruto became silent for a few seconds. Her presence alone brought a wave of a nice scent of grape and jasmine to his nostril, something that made his male members stand under the sleeping yukata he wears. And no, it's not Shizune's. Can you please tell me what is the use of aphrodisiac in real life? The books I read few weeks ago didn't tell me about it at all. Smut, romance, even normal novels he read since his coming to this world never poked any information about aphrodisiacs, period. And yet Yakumo didn't look like someone who feel bad after what she did. Whether in his world the use of an aphrodisiac to an unwilling person is basically social harassment and can put the assaulter into jail. Aphrodisiac is a drug used in some perfume creation, Naruto-sama. Those perfumes usually used by married people before they have sex so their bodies feel less pain when they're doing the deed. So it's not illegal. The drug is actually one of the main components in this world's perfume creation. Well, now that he thinks again with how painful the book said about sex here, he can actually understand why most people would treat aphrodisiacs as something legal and not dangerous. Once someone in this world inhales an aphrodisiac, their body will start to get the itch that can only be scratched by doing sex or something similar to it. It is an everyday item for people here, I see. Thank you very much. Is there anything you want as a reward? Naruto said calmly despite his still angrily beating heart. To normal people here, aphrodisiac is a normal item that would let their body feel pleasant and itchy, whether the effect on their mind is probably nihil, considering they have no lust or libido to be amplified. But for him who came from another world, oh shit, his body might have a small resistance to the drug because he has some experience with the strange mushrooms that grew in the forest of death. But his mind? Double oh shit, to be able to talk with you alone is a reward for me. Naruto-sama, you don't need to give me another one. The woman in front of him said, currently and professionally, answering his previous question toward her and at the same time broke Naruto from his trance as his attention returned to her once again. So professional, but are you really sure? Naruto asked once again, this time with red blush on his cheeks, too hesitant and embarrassed to let this woman know that his body is currently in dire need of some special attention. What is this situation called back in his world again? Sunura? Yeah, he's being a Sunura right now, Shizune. She went out after she placed him on his bed, saying that she also needs to secure the perimeter so he can sleep without any other interruption for today. But how can he sleep with this boner of his? It's uncomfortable, you know. I see, the female guard in front of him muttered under her breath after her red ruby eyes went to his face and read his expression like a book. And then, desire completely take over as all professionality and politeness left her eyes. Seeing this, Naruto shivered a little, though at the same time, excitement started to build up in his chest. Then Naruto-sama, may I have a taste of your neck? Sure. Neck? That's new, is what crossed Naruto's mind after he heard his guard's request. But still, his body is too needy at the moment and his mind is filled with nothing but a pink haze. Thus, he approved her request. For now, he's just gonna hope whatever this guard going to do to his body won't be so mind-blowing like what Shizune did to his ears. His current body and mind are just too sensitive at the moment, after all. Tomorrow Naruto woke up feeling sore all over his body, especially the area of his nape where his guard had thoroughly bitten every single inch of last night. She also did it while pushing down her body against him and rubbing her soft thigh against his groin, an action which actually made him came several times. Well, at the very least, she stopped when the effect of aphrodisiac on him became weary. Last night he was basically drunk on aphrodisiac, and his reward for the guard was merely a drunkard request. Simply said, he didn't think it through before he made her request a rather ecchi reward. But now already, clear-headed, Naruto can only do an inhale and exhale exercise to calm himself down. Let's just hope there's no strange backlash for what he did. Naruto-sama, this is Shizune. Have you wake up? Yes, I have. The black-haired woman entered right after she heard his words. For a few seconds, she paused, seeing his groggy state, sleepy eyes, and loosened yukata cladding his live body, and Naruto doesn't need any special power to notice the desire that burns behind those professional-looking eyes of hers. She's getting lustful just from seeing his morning state. Exhale, I am sorry for staring, Naruto-sama, though maybe because she has been living with him for years. Shizune was quick to calm herself and tune down her libido before she makes a mistake that she probably won't regret, but must be paid for with her life. Naruto himself merely nodded, as Shizune lowered her head and apologized. Actually really liked it when she was staring at him with such desire and wanton in her eyes, though not that he was going to say that, knowing how Naruto in this world attitude toward the people, mostly those from the female population. It's okay. So, is there anything you want to tell me? Naruto asked as he went to the side of the very huge bed so he can fully turn his attention toward Shizune. Here Shizune nodded, yes, Naruto-sama. The guards have found the track of the woman who killed several contestants a few days ago, and just as we thought, she's also a contestant. Her name is Fuka. I already knew that, Shizune. Spreading his hands like how cat would. Naruto let out a very large yawn that he didn't even bother to cover, mostly because he's just too uncaring about politeness whatsoever now that he knows he can just ignore all of those. No, he's not a rude person, people who knew him could attest to that, but everything else like polite and regal things royals had to do. Man, no thank you. Why, you already know about that, Naruto-sama. For some reason, the moment Naruto's closed eyes opened and went to Shizune, the woman looked startled and pretty much shocked by what he said. What's so strange about it now? Yeah, I did investigate it 2 days ago, right? It wasn't that hard to reach the truth once you heard all the words spreading on the street about red-haired woman who looked very suspicious and a strange aura around her. It was a pretty shortened version of everything that he heard, but Shizune probably understood what he said even if he didn't tell her the whole story. His ears are sharper than most people since he was born, and while at first it was really hurtful to hear so many whispers of people who called him a demon behind his back in his world, in the end, he chose to sharpen his natural talent for information gathering. And now, in this world, he can use said talent to gather information whispered by the people. I see. I am very sorry, Naruto-sama. I was useless. To think you would have to solve it before me. I feel terrible after I failed you so much so. Please, punish me as you see fit. When Shizune knelt down on all four and her forehead touched the cold floor, Naruto became speechless for a few seconds before he in the end merely shook his head and walked in the direction of the bathroom. Then keep kneeling like that until I finish my bath. After that, do the usual. Dry his body with a towel, dress him in his clothes, and then follow him as he does whatever he likes. Those three is the main job that Shizune have to do every single day. Something that would have made every single man back in his world's faces become green with envious. Here it was a blessing to any woman. Why yes, Naruto-sama. I want repeat my mistake once more. Thank you for giving me another chance. Another chance? What another chance? He was just telling her about the murderer Fuka and nothing else, and yet Naruto rolled his eyes here. Let's just not think too much about it and just let Shizune think whatever she likes for now, because at the moment, his body is still sore after the activity he did last night, and he wants nothing but a fresh bath. Naruto-sama, may I ask a question? Just a minute after Naruto finished his breakfast, Shizune said that from his right while bowing lightly to ask for his permission. Blinked a few times. Naruto nodded. Sure. What do you want to ask? Shizune, did you accept Yukumo's hand in marriage? Here, Naruto turned silent for a few minutes. Actually already expected such question from her. Shizune was pretty protective last night, as though she knew that there is no way Yukumo Karama of all people would like to get his hand in marriage without any backup plan whatsoever. So, the fact here he is home and sound after the daimyo in question drove him home must be triggered some alarms in her head. Well, I gave her a last requirement for her to get my hand in marriage. She's yet to tell me her answer. For a bit, Shizune nodded. Her eyes closed as if she was happy that the worst scenario didn't happen at all, but still, she's rather curious about the requirement her master gave to the new daimyo. That made the woman think thrice about, despite the prize. Surely there is nothing the women in this world refused to do if it meant a hand in marriage with Naruto Uzumaki, right? Alas, she merely asked a permission for one question, so she has no right to get another question. Despite she really wants to know just what is the requirement her Lord Naruto want from a woman who want to marry him. As Shizune became silent, Naruto let out a small smile. Her curiosity can be seen from that face of hers alone, and after what he said to her, he's pretty sure that he knows what question currently floating in that mind of her. I told her that I want to hear him. Deep in the library, Naruto is humming in thought as he reading a book about the ninja in this world, and just like usual, circling around him is masked Konoisis who vowed to guard him with their body and soul. His private guards anyway, just like Yukumo Karama. Shizune became silent the moment she heard his words, and in her eyes, expression he cannot decipher danced with complexity. Why? He doesn't really know if he can be honest. Sure, since this world lack lust, it also means men and women marry each other because of nothing but deep trust and willingness to be with each other. But surely there's someone in the past who had a harem, right? He is confused. Well, better start writing now. Took out a book from his kimono. Naruto let his mind wander off, as he once again starts to write his own version of Icha book. It's time to work with Yukumo Karama. He said that deep inside her own chamber, the woman who has the title of the Fire Daimyo is laying on her bed without her usual regal attire. Brown hairs spread on her back as the woman crossing her arm across her head with a frown on her face and said frown deep in when she heard the words from one of her trusted samurais. Did I shut her, Yen? I am sorry if I offended you, Daimyo-sama. However, my mind just can't help but to turn blank after what you told me. Naruto Uzumaki. No one ever lived without hearing his name at least once. The boy was cold, calculating, power-hungry, and most of all, he hates female population without any exception. It is not an exaggeration if someone said the boy is the one who made some countries become at war with each other. Hatred is not something someone can feel toward the blonde, however. Just like how female population mysteriously fell over heel for him, it is also impossible to hate him for some reason. I know, Yakumo said as she sat down on her bed. She, after all, also became blank the moment she heard Naruto's last requirement to have his hand in marriage. It is just mind-blowing how someone known for his disgust toward female population suddenly want to marry more than one woman. Here, her samurai said another piece of her mind. Did he perhaps want to gain more power? After all, by marrying many powerful women, he will gain access to their possession. For example, the moment Naruto marry Yakumo, he will become the master of Fire Country itself. For a few minutes, Yakumo became silent, but in the end, she shook her head in denial. There's no need for that. If he wanted to, he could just ask for those privileges with a small offer, and no one will be able to reject him. His name alone has weight behind it. People from across the world race with each other to get a favor from him and would pay anything for it. A status and title are two things that these people would gladly give to Naruto if it meant they'd have the blonde's favor. Well, it might sound stupid, but Daimyo-sama, why don't you just ask him? After all, you said the two of you had a great night, right? I am sure he will tell you the reason if you asked. I guess that's true. Get me a paper and pen. Right away, ma'am. Later I apologize that our last night date had to stop because of my inability to talk after I heard what you said. I hope you can forgive me for that transgression of mine, Naruto. However, I also would like to ask you about your requirement. Am I correct to assume that you wish to marry several women despite your slight dislike toward them? With love, Yakumo Karima. Naruto said out loud, followed by a few blinks of his eyes. The paper in his hands smelled fragrant, and the writing also looked very beautiful, from how complicated the kanji written in the paper alone. Naruto no Yakumo must be spent hours to write these few sentences. Though that's slight, it seems she really want him to explain why would he want to marry several women despite his hatred toward female population. It wasn't him, it was previous Naruto, but there's simply no way he can say that toward the Fire Daimyo. Took out a blank paper. Naruto tapped his chin several times, musing on how he should answer Yakumo's letter. Ugh, dear Fire Daimyo, it has come to my concern that the world seems to see me as someone who hate female population. However, this is not true. I simply have fear toward those females who cannot control their own desire the moment they saw me. But even if most females actually like this, I know some can control their desire to a few degrees. Someone like you, for example, and so, like I said before, I don't hate female population. And albeit desire from women is flattering, I also want to be loved just like a normal person do. As for why I want more than one woman to be my wife, I am afraid it is just my selfish wish. And no more than that. Being loved is a beautiful experience. And if I could have more than one woman to love me, why not? Naruto Uzumaki. And done. Naruto whispered to no one after he finished his letter for Yakumo, hoping and praying that she would buy his answer. But then again, he's not lying. Desire is flattering and all, however, what he wants from his soulmate is more than just desire, more than just sex, no matter how pleasant the deed is. He wants love, love in its purest form, while everything else can be classified as secondary. Thinking like this, Naruto folded the paper several times nicely and put it on his desk, eyes slightly melancholy after he basically opened himself a little to someone he met once. Can one of you give this letter to Yakumo-san? Yes, sir. The folded paper was gone just like that, as if it was never there in the first place, and seeing this, Naruto let out a small sigh and put his face on his arms after he folded said, "Arms on the table. Let's just hope the fire daimyo react positively to his letter. It would be bad if her answer is another aphrodisiac-soaked cloth toward his face. Well, not really bad, at least not for him. Raped by a sexy woman after she drugged me, that's hot." Naruto muttered under his breath, so low that even the guards around him won't take notice of it even if they have sharp hearings. What, he's a normal 15-year-old boy? It is normal for him to be a pervert. And with the strange state this world in, it is basically forcing and begging him to be a pervert. He's just going to follow the flow, that's all. Girls, quick question, where is the others? Naruto said after a few minutes of silence. The library is just too silent now that he thinks. Again, and despite very few came to the library he worked in back in his world, some people did come sometimes. So why does the library in this world so empty? Naruto-sama, considering your dislike toward crowd, we kicked all of the people out before you came, and knowing it is you who want to come, they did so without any complaint. Oh, so that's why he cannot even see the librarian behind their desk. Geez, but oh well, can't do anything about that, plus no harm done at all. His guard just said kick out to make him think her being good soldier, probably. Okay then, good job. Naruto nodded. It would be nice to have some people sitting here and there, if he can be honest. Boot if can't. No problem, yes, your highness, and may I have the pleasure to massage your legs, your highness? Sure. Not wasting any second, the woman, donned in all black attire, slipped into under the table. Her slightly tall frame makes the space slightly narrow for her, but it doesn't seem to hinder her to give massage to his legs. And feeling this, Naruto's toes twitched a little bit. Kind of tickles, fortunately. He didn't let out a sound or any other external reaction toward the massage, even though his face probably should have turned a little pink from the administration. Why fortunate? Because he can feel it, the jealousy and the anger in the air. Funny, but he's not gonna laugh, not at all. He's just gonna keep his silent and continues his writing. Yep, that's what he's going to do. He's not gonna poke a hornet nest, that's for sure. Anyway, I wonder what's the situation with the exam now. He just hopes that his friend Hinata is alright. Oh, and Sakura, of course. She's just so much prettier than Sakura from his world. In the forest of death. See, come on now. Hinata, we should just team up, we were classmates, yes? Came a trembling voice of Sakura, followed by a wince as the pain in her ankles flared for a brief second. In front of her, one Hinata Hyuga stood menacingly with Byakugan activated and palms burning with dark and powerful chakra. To Sakura and Ino it was a bad luck, to Hinata it was a chance. No, Makoto-san is enough for rival. I'll not let you pass this exam, Haruno. Sakura bit her bottom lip the second she heard this as her eyes turned dark and glared hard at the young woman across from her. Of course, the whole female population in the world is at war with each other when it come to one Naruto Uzumaki. Classmates are not, she and Hinata as the same as them. Each want nothing but to sweep away the others. Then so be it. Tighten her gloves. Sakura straightened her posture as with a quick flare of her chakra, she healed all minor injuries on her body. She doesn't know where Ino went to, but hopefully that friend of her is alright. It's been a day since the first exam start. After all, most of the remaining contenders is smart enough to team up or set up ambushes in the forest. Get ready to get punched, Hyuga. No, it is you who should get ready to puke blood. Haruno. Bam. And the whole clearing shook as a fist met a palm. Back with Naruto, meh, they should be alright, they were classmates, after all they probably teamed up and sweeping away the other contestants. Naruto thought inwardly, yes, he might be a little bit biased, but he really hopes that the people he can call friends passes the exam so they can be his guards. It might be fun, plus it would also make it less awkward the day he accepts several hundreds of women into his private guard rank if some of his friends also going to enter said rank. Just as he thought like this, Naruto felt something tingles in the air. I scanning around, Naruto see that his guards doesn't seems to sense what he felt just now. Still, what was that? Yes, he felt something, but it doesn't mean he know what is that something. Well, maybe it was just a fly flying around. His guards are professional, each of them is more than enough to defeat a John and level ninja. Sensing something amiss should be an easy pie to them, so the fact they didn't seems to react at all, it means what he sensed is probably something harmless. A little cricket or something like that. A few meters away from Naruto's position, right on top of a bookshelves, a single standing strand of red hair can be seen, moving gently despite the lack of wind in the area. And the tip, it's pointing at Naruto himself, somewhere in the forest of death. So cute. Deep inside a cave, a woman licked her lips. As a Xylee behind her, red hairs move around as if alive, and deep in her eyes Naruto can be seen still writing his book. The woman's cheek become redder the more she's spying on him. You're so cute that I want to gobble you up. UFUFU. A small, rather crazed laugh came out of the woman's mouth following her rambles. Though, when the boy started to look around and actually gazed at her direction, she immediately cut off the connection with her hair. On her lips, her smile become wider as her cheeks become so red that it almost as red as a tomato. So perfect his face is, no wonder women in the world dare to wage wars against each other just to get his attention. A gaze from his eyes alone is enough to melt her heart. Mine, you're going to be mine, Naruto Uzumaki. For now, she's going to pass this exam. And after she did, she will become his guard, climb the rank among other guards, be someone who have his trust, and then, blicking lips noise, imagining the Naruto himself bound by her true body, which is her hair, struggling against the red strands without any success as she plays with his body as she please. The woman licked her lips once again. She can't wait for that day, alas, to get the ultimate treasure. She has to be patient. But then again, she's far older than she looks. A few years of wait will be a piece of cake for an immortal like her. Later, so tired as the sun's starting to set, Naruto spread his arms like how cat would, and he's kinda happy when he heard some of his bones pop. Nicely. Pop finished. The blonde took a small glance toward the table. His book is closed. Already full just a few minutes ago, however, surrounding the book itself, several plates of food and some empty bottles he told his guards to buy scattered somewhat neatly. It wasn't cleaned, because he kinda wanna see just how much he ate for a day and at work. With the world's state and all, he kinda need to find something to amuse himself, you know? Can one of you please give this to publishing house? Use my real name as my pen name, though? Yes, sir, Naruto said as he slid his book forward, and the second he blinked, the book is already gone from his sight. His guard's speed is as impressive as ever, honestly. Tired mentally, Naruto plopped his face on the table as a cross. The table itself, his trash is started to disappear one by one faster than his eyes can see without his order. Meh, they don't want him to lay in a pile of trash, he's grateful for it. Anyone know where Shizune is? Naruto asked toward his guards. And right after he did, one of them stepped forward to answer his question. Shizune went to the exam to keep watch just in case someone break the rule, sir. She's also accompanied by Katsan and her squad. Kat, it's been pretty long time since he saw her. From his knowledge, despite it was the woman who saved him the day he first came to this world, she's actually not among his guard and actually the commander of Umbu squad under the Hokage. The medics who healed him is women from his guards, though. Thank you. Why, you may kiss my cheek, shuddered a little. Naruto in the end succeed to said those words with a rather neutral face, and probably not expecting such reward. Just from answering his question, the guard turned silent for a few seconds. Nonetheless, once her mind caught what was said, she tilted her mask to a side a little, enough to free her mouth and small part of her nose. Naruto closes his eyes as a pair of pink lips descend into his cheek, smooching on it as the woman in question spent her time to enjoy her reward. Kiss word has a wide berth of meaning after all. Nonetheless, Naruto is enjoying himself as his guard spending her time to give him the best cheek as he ever got from someone. At her womanly nice smell, it is a pleasant experience for him. None of his guards use aphrodisiac mixed perfume. From what he knows, previous Naruto banned his guards to wear those because he felt disgusted if he felt pleasant around ugly women. Brood, but good for him, good because it would be bad for his image if he got hard on every single time someone from his guards got too close. After all, Of course, he also felt a twinge of disappointment at that single fact too. Just a twinge though, honest Naruto-sama. Thank you for the reward you blessed me with. I vow to protect you till my life exhausted, till my skin turn to dust, till my bones crack, until I can't do anything but to die. Okay, the moment his guard finished kissing his cheek, she bowed so low that her forehead touching the ground, slightly shivering from joy after she kissed his cheek. She's in euphoria, okay, what, he doesn't know what he supposedly says. To someone who vowed to him with so much passion that every word she spoke got fueled by it. Publishing house Shilly. The blonde shuddered as his cheeks turned red when the woman gave him a tantalizing kiss to kiss neck. His arms, trembling in embarrassment and slight hesitant, can do nothing but to clutch on the woman's shoulders, trying and failing to push her away from him. All the while, the woman let out a small smirk on her lips. Her left palm already slipped into the blonde's pants. Smack, with a rather loud smacking sound. A woman seems to be in her 30s, clothes the book in her hands, sharply while biting her bottom lip. She cannot read the book anymore, not unless she wants to ejaculate just by thinking about it alone. Oh hell, she's actually can't help but to start thinking about it right now. After she took a sharp inhale of breath, she spoke. Now, it is a good book, but I'll ask you again for my insurance. This book, is it really written by Naruto Uzumaki-sama? The story is very engaging, and as a reader, she can't help but to delve into the story. Is the woman who was teasing a blonde named N who has a facing similarity to one Naruto Uzumaki in real life. It made her imagining herself as the one in that woman's shoes, and it felt great. All in all, it is a very good book, actually bolder than that very word. But still, she still has to be careful, more so because the guard in front of him said the writer of the book is Naruto Uzumaki himself. It is kind of doubtful with his reputation in all, but then again, she wouldn't know because she never met the boy, not even for once. Yes, it is him who wrote that book and told me to give it to you. From the tone alone, she can sense the guard across from her also didn't expect the book to be so engaging for women like them. Nonetheless, the guard seemed to be content to stay professional in her posture, not giving away anything else except for her slight hesitant tone. And here, the owner of the publishing house let out a sigh. All right then, I'll have your words, that I won't be killed by John and ninjas the moment this book got published, 'cause if I do, it'll haunt you for the rest of your life, she said half-heartedly, not really meaning her words, and sensing this, the guard merely nodded in understanding. Such book could change the world's point of view toward one Naruto Uzumaki, and while some indeed might become doubtful by the writer identity of the book at first, if within a week in the book still not going down, doubt will disappear. It meant the titan Naruto Uzumaki is not someone untouchable like most people thought. First, it means everyone will have a chance, but then again, only as long they have the power to grasp that chance. 'Cause, let's just be honest here, there's no way the female population across the whole elemental nation will let a woman do as she pleased just because Naruto Uzumaki opened a door. The war for that open door, it will be bloody as hell. Braveries across the nation shall start anew with Naruto laying on his wagon. Naruto's eyebrow twitched a little when once again he felt that slight twinge in the air, and this time he kind of felt it a little bit more obvious. It's like a pair of eyes blinked a little because the feeling disappeared as fast as it came. Naruto merely keep gnawing the meat bun he told his guard to buy. Just who was that? He honestly doesn't know, and he also doesn't have any idea on how to track the owner of the eyes who was staring at him. Tell his guard? Nah, why should he? For all intent, the owner of said eyes could be just someone who was curious about him and probably just spying without any bad intention. And no, he's not being naive about it, and more like he knows just how overprotective his guard's going to be the second he told them he felt eyes staring at him. They could change from sexy guards to rabid dogs within second, full with nothing but intention to track and kill. But still, knock knock Shizune, are you there? Knocked on his wagon 2 times, Naruto called on the woman he crushes on. And yeah, he is crushing on Shizune right now with her sisterly warmth and kindness. She's kind to someone he really likes to be with, if he can be honest. Yes, Naruto-sama. I am here, is there something you need? The woman said with a small, happy smile, after she opened the door to the wagon, bringing a waft of her nice scents to the small room within. A second. She also has a small blush on her cheeks after she saw his laying on the sofa so cutely. Well, blushing, Naruto patted on the sofa beside him. I feel a little lonely. Can you sit with me? Heard what he said. The smile on Shizune's lips widened so much that it actually looks kind of freaky. Though of course, knowing this, she was quick to hide said smile behind her kimono sleeve. Her eyes still made an upward U in a sign of her happiness, however. Of course, Naruto-sama, it is my pleasure to give you cuddles every time you want it. Pretty close with him. Shizune know what he really wants to do behind his please sit with me words. Embarrassed because his intention was caught red-handed so quickly, Naruto's blush became redder, so much that even his ears also turning red. ID didn't mean th the blonde's words stopped, because Shizune was quick to move, though instead of taking her seat beside him, the woman actually lay her body right on top of him and giving his face full of her breasts press, silencing him. One of her palms is on his head, combing on his hairs while giving his head a massage while another palm of hers already slipped into his clothes and harassing his chest with nothing but vigor. Inside its fleshy cage and forced to smell the woman's mature scent, Naruto's face becomes so red that his head letting out some steam. SSSH, you must be tired after all the writing you did, Naruto-sama. Please let this Shizune be your comfort and lull you to sleep. Right after she said this, Shizune pushed her body even more into him until he can no longer move except for a small twitch here and there, her face on his head and inhaling his scent with a perverted smile that Naruto cannot see. Memk, more than happy do what Shizune told him to do. Naruto gently closed his eyes and, trying his best to sleep while ignoring the woman's ministration on his body. It was hard, and coarse. His male members soon was quick to stand up under the kimono he's wearing. Shizune's reaction, like a female dog in heat, she dry-humped him until she orgasmed several times with ragging breath, and of course by that point he also came several times into his pants. Sadly, he passed out after he came 4 or so times. So unfortunate, but then again, the sleep following the deed is so nice that he actually snores. Leaning the back of his waist on the side of the table of the Hokage, Naruto was humming while watching Tsunade sorting the papers of the women who passed the first exam. Yes, the first exam already finished just a few hours ago. And no, he didn't tell Tsunade about this visit, an action that actually made the woman become a blushing mess for a few minutes before in the end, she put her professional mask back on still, with a patch of blush on her cheeks though. Thus, here he is watching Tsunade putting some interesting-looking women's papers to the side while putting away the rest of them in a box. Box means failure if you didn't know. Oh, they passed, Naruto said lowly under his breath when he saw 4 papers being set to the side by the Hokage. Hinata, Sakura, Ino, and of course, Makoto Uchiha. The last 2 are the women he never met face to face. And if he can be honest, they didn't disappoint. Makoto, titled one of the strongest ninjas in the world, is a beautiful woman with jet black hair and a pair of sharp, serious-looking eyes. Ino, just like Sakura and Hinata, also looks like a 19 years old of herself, and unlike Sakura, who became prettier the more mature she is, Ino looks more gorgeous. Her blonde locks became much longer, and her bangs hide one of her eyes while she was smiling sultrily at the camera. She's charming, yes, though for Hinata and Sakura, it because the time was up before they can mock each other out. Rather fortunate of them, I say. Who, and here thought the 2 would actually team up with each other to take on the exam. Naruto thought inside his head right after he heard Tsunade's words. Outwardly, he merely gave a small nod of understanding. I thought they would team up. The 5th Hokage didn't say anything to respond to his words, though in her eyes, a telltale of disbelief can be seen easily. Are you kidding? That's what her eyes basically said, despite her mouth keeping silent. Now, as for why she would think like that, Naruto doesn't have any idea. Anyway, Naruto, you want to start the 2nd exam soon? Tsunade asked after calling him by name. She was one among the first who was notified the moment Naruto Uzumaki published a book with the publishing house he used housed in Kona and all, and of course it also meant she was one among the people who had the pleasure to read his book despite it just getting published. His very engaging book. He doesn't like an overly polite call from someone too high in power or someone close to him. That's one thing among everything she took notice of from his book. And thus, she called him by his given name with her status as a Hokage. It should be enough for her to do so. I don't think so. Let's give them a few more hours to rest before we start the next exam, Naruto said rather carefully, though he did take notice of the Hokage loose call on him, which made him curious for like 2 or so seconds. Oh well, she probably wants to get their date fastened. That's different than 4 years ago. Is there any particular reason? Tsunade asked as she turned her face toward him, arms folded under her massive pair of busts that made them jingle hypnotically. Naturally, Naruto's eyes went to the said bosom, hypnotized for a few seconds before in the end, he shook his head and turned his gaze toward the woman's face. She looks rather distressed, probably because she thought he was glaring at her ugly breasts. Cough particularly? No, I just want the contestants to be able to use every bit of their power, that's all. It would be unfair to women who are still hurting whether from traps or ambushes if he started the next exam immediately. But at the same time it would be unfair to those who came out unscratched if he let the time pass just like that until everyone fully healed. That's why he's giving them a few hours to rest. Wounded or not, their weary minds would need to rest, so they won't collapse in the next exam. Well, I am charmed once again. When Naruto's gaze returned to Tsunade's direction, the woman was licking her lips Zyle, her eyes locked on him like a dog watching a bare bone. Full of desire, help came in the form of Shizune, who walked to the Hokage and slapped her across the back of her head. She no longer wants to keep silent when her mentor becomes so rude to her master. Shit, Shizune, I was just staring. It's still rude, Tsunade-sama. The Hokage merely growled at her first apprentice, who kept betraying her again and again. Back when Naruto was admitted to the hospital and now here in her own office, watching all of this unfold right in front of him, Naruto can't help but smile. There's a hidden chemistry between these two. They're close to each other. Shizune, Naruto called, and almost immediately the woman's eyes went in his direction, awaiting his order. You could speed up my date with Tsunade-san, if there's nothing important that I need to do. Shizune's answer is a few seconds of silence, as a rather familiar emotion crossed her eyes right after she heard his words. But after those few seconds passed, she merely nodded obediently. She felt jealous, and yet still so obedient. Oh, Shizune. Of course, Naruto-sama, if that's what you wish. That was Shizune's reaction. Tsunade, her grin became so big, as though Christmas had come early just for her, or just like a cat that just ate a canary. Hyuga Manchina. Slowly, Hanabi Hanada hissed in pain, when her sister put a medical salve on her wounds and wrapped bandages around them rather tightly. It was just her luck. Just when she almost knocked out that damn Pinkett, her blonde friend had to come and made the fight into 2-on-1. Of course, she was still winning, though before she can make those two disqualified, the alarm that signaled the end of the first exam blared so hard. Just her bad luck and their good luck. I am doing this as gently as possible, Oni-sama, but it's still going to be painful. There's a few poisons in your system right now. After all, none of them seems fatal, though. Great, just great. That damn Pinkett is so annoying. Even when she's not around, Hanada thought bitterly deep inside her mind. Her fists clenched angrily. It might be painful for me, but that stupid pink girl will go through hell. The clan leader of Hyuga said darkly with a pair of narrow eyes full of killing intent. She might have been poisoned by Sakura, however. She also broke some of that woman's organs, and no matter how good she is at medical jutsu, the Pinkett will go through hellish torture while she's healing herself. It is by no means smooth sailing to heal broken organs, after all. That's good, Oni-sama. However, I suggest you keep your distance from Haruno-san in the next exam. Unless you got a really good chance. Your intention doing this exam, after all, is to become Naruto. Sans guard, it will be bad for you and for the clan if you fail just because you're blinded. By your anger toward Haruno-san. Bad because the clan would take the brunt weight of the failure. Along with Hanada. The moment Hanada fails, the whole elemental nation will gain the information. That Hanada Hyoga, the clan leader after she killed her own father in the clan's council, failed the second test of Naruto's exam. It would be a large hit toward their clan's popularity, which equals fewer missions for them. Something that she must avoid at all costs. I understand. Hanada said in the end after a few minutes of silence and after she let out a rather large sigh from her lips. No matter how much hatred she has for a stupid woman with pink hair, she cannot let her clan and her family get ridiculed by the public because of her blunder. Plus, Naruto likes the women around him to be strong, so she needs to be strong enough to handle her own hatred. But that Banshee is still going down the second I see her make blunder. Of course, Oni-sama, of course that's what I hope you do after all. As for Sakura herself, she's currently inside her private room inside the hospital, treating her wounds alone and with a red cloth in her mouth. She's biting the cloth so she won't bite her tongue by accident from all of the pain she's experiencing. Her hands, which experienced many hardships, can do nothing but clutch the bedsheet as her whole body glows green, trying to fix some of the broken organs inside her body. It's a very painful procedure. Pant sweat covers the young woman's whole body, sticking her red kippao against her tall body as she tries to take a few minutes of a breather before she can continue. Stupid Hanada. Who the hell broke people's organs in an exam where fatal injuries are banned? Goo. If she weren't the second apprentice of legendary Tsunade Senju, Sakura knows that she'd be dead by now. Yes, her injuries are just that fatal. In the second exam she's so going to be it up that woman so bad that she'll beg her to stop. Hern. A muffled scream of pain came out of her gagged mouth when another organ of hers was fully repaired. Drool leaked from the side of her lips. Ah, so painful. If only she could get some other medics to help, but alas, other John and level medics also participate in the Naruto exam and are probably busy helping themselves. The free ones would be Chunin medics and below, but with her injuries they won't be able to help much. Hell, even her own mentor, Tsunade, is also busy doing her own part in the exam. Alas, she cannot lean toward anyone except herself for now. But it will be worth it. For you, Naruto-kun, this kind of pain is nothing for me. As long as I can stand beside you when everything ends, it'll keep going. Let's just focus on healing herself for now. With Naruto alright, since our business here is finished, it'll excuse myself, Tsunade-san. Near the exit door of the Hokage office, Naruto said politely, with Shizune standing behind him. Across from him, Tsunade still has that cat who ate the canary grin on her face after he told his secretary to fasten the date so Tsunade can take him out on a date. She looks very happy. Yes. Please be careful on your way out, Naruto, the mature woman said with a suggesting wink, one that made Naruto nod shyly, complete with a cute blush on his cheeks. Of course, then it'll see you a few days from now on, Tsunade-san. With that is his final sentence. Naruto turned around and walked away from the room after Shizune opened the door for him. Behind him, Tsunade screamed in joy after she closed the door. Today is the happiest day in her life. Shizune, you look a little glum. Is everything alright? Walking in the corridor of the Hokage building, Naruto asked the woman with worry in his tone, fully noticing her rather upset-looking face. He doesn't like seeing Shizune upset. I am alright, Naruto-sama, Iju. Before she could finish her words, a guard appeared right in front of Naruto, kneeling down with two hands raised. Said hands are holding a piece of paper. Seeing this, Naruto let out a small smile. Thank you. Gratefully took the letter from his guard's hands. Naruto began to read it. His smile slowly becomes wider as he does so. It's a letter from Yakumo Karima. From what she wrote, she now has understood and accepted his term to get his hand in marriage. And under all of these, she put a small note that said, Please let me know when we can have another date. It'll have to present you with your ring. And we also should talk about the date of our marriage. She's so impatient, Naruto thought to himself, though The smile on his lips shows his real feeling toward the whole situation. He is happy. Sure, the fact he's going to have a fiancée honestly confuses him, as he doesn't feel ready or worthy to have someone like that in his life, mostly the ready part. But it is still making him happy that soon he will have someone he can call a lover, and one who will love him for the rest of their life. Shizune, let's go home fast. I want to write something to Yakumo-chan. With a chirpy tone and a happy smile on his face, Naruto said that after he turned around his body. And once the woman heard his words and also took notice of the new suffix given to the fire daimyo across from him, Shizune closed her eyes for a brief second. Of course, Naruto's Salma is somewhat slowly. Shizune wrapped one of her arms around the blonde's waist rather intimately after she walked to his back. For a few seconds she merely put her chin above her master's head, seemingly content with the position. Under the sleeve her free hand is clutching so hard that it bleeds. Shizune waited for a flicker for the past few seconds, and got nothing but silence. Naruto called the woman hesitantly. Did he do something wrong now? My apologies, Naruto Salma. I was thinking about something, but I am ready now. Are you comfortable? For the answer, Naruto merely nodded as he snuggles deeper into Shizune's embrace. A hug from her is very comfortable, there's no need to ask the question, honestly. Felt his nod. Shizune did the flicker technique as both of them disappear into a puff of smoke, and left nothing but a single leaf. Later when they both arrived, Naruto was quick to go to his private desk and took out a single piece of paper to write on. Behind him, Shizune can only watch while biting her bottom lips. There's something she wants to ask, but she's afraid, really afraid to ask the question. Guard, please give this to Yakumo-san. It only took Naruto a minute to finish the letter, and he immediately called his guard to pass on said letter to the fire daimyo. With a blink, a guard came and went, leaving Naruto all alone with Shizune once again. The blonde himself, once he felt that the letter was no longer in his hand, turned his full attention to Shizune, who has her face etched in an unreadable expression. Shizune? The woman doesn't seem to hear him even though she was standing right in front of him. Seeing this, Naruto can't help but worry even more about her condition. The woman who's taken care of him since he arrived with nothing but kindness. Shi-chan called her once again, this time with a cute call and a small tug on her sleeve. Naruto in the end got a reaction from Shizune, who locked her eyes right into his when she heard him call her with a call unfamiliar to her ears. Having her full attention, Naruto gave the woman a small smile full of worries. You alright? Please tell me if something is bothering you. Again, for a few minutes, Shizune kept her silence, not doing anything but staring at him with uncertainty in her eyes. Being the patient person he is, Naruto waits for her. Naruto-sama, I am just wondering, you accepted Yakumo-san as your fiancé, but, if I may ask, is there a place in your heart to also accept me if I propose to you? Is there a place in your heart to accept someone as ugly as me as your wife? I want surprise me if you say no. But this lowly assistant of yours really have to ask. It was almost like a beg in his eyes. Shizune, a woman he knows is someone very warm and kind, suddenly seems like a begging mess when she dropped to her knees and grabbed him by his shoulders, small tears in her eyes when she was talking. But it's not her fault, Naruto concluded by himself. The women, no, the Kunuchi in this world are ugly by the people's standard. Men and women alike seem to think the same way when it comes to this one thing. Shizune being a John and level ninja and having a bigger reserve of chakra mean only one thing. In people's eyes, she's very ugly. Not to him. Hey come on, get up, Naruto said to the woman warmly. His hands helped the woman back on her feet, and he then let himself get closer to her, close enough that she would be able to fully embrace him, if she wanted to, though she merely keeps her hands on his shoulders at the moment. And here, Naruto looked up to her to look at her face, her big breasts covering a big part of his sight, though, normally, he would blush at the sight of a woman's breasts being so close to his face, but considering Shizune's current situation, he forced down his urge to do such a thing. Naruto-sama, Firstly, you can just call me Naruto when we're all alone. Okay? I don't mind. Still watching him, Shizune nodded with a telltale of happiness in her eyes. At the same time, her hands that were on his shoulders began to creep down to his waist. For a small second, her hands tugged him closer, one that Naruto does without any complaint as his body and Shizune's now being pressed to each other. He can no longer see her face, though, and if he tried to look up, in his current position, his face would only press against Shizune's breast lower part. A salivating offer, alas, with the situation he can only return her embrace and press his face against her stomach area under her breasts, all the while, his arms on her waist trembling from how much his urge screaming at him to look up and dug his face against those two watermelons atop his head. Secondly, you don't need to be afraid. You're the first woman I slept with, you know? I accept you, Shizune, your positive side, your flaws, and you for being you, and the day you propose to me, I will accept that as well. This time, Naruto cannot do anything as the emotional. Shizune grabbed him and pulled his face against her cleavage after she took on to her knees once again. The pair of large breasts easily swallowed his face, his head, and his neck, and with Shizune's arms wrapped around his head, Naruto was forced to smell the intoxicating scent of hers. Oh, Kami, this is so addicting, sobs Naruto, you're so kind. Chalked back down a sob. Shizune dug her face against his hair after she once again pulled him closer and tighter against her bosom, an action that made his fingers twitch for a brief second. He can't breathe. Oh shit, MJHMM try to struggle, Naruto meet with nothing but an even tighter hug from Shizune with one of her wide-sleeved arms wrapped around his head and the other one on his waist. Naruto is basically fully encompassed by her silky kimono. A very soft and pleasant hug, but with him cannot breathe. In any air, he can't take any pleasure from it. Afufu, I know you're happy that I now no longer feel uncertain, Naruto, but you don't need to jump around inside my embrace. Let us just enjoy our time. The hand that was previously on his waist went to his butt and tugged him upwards so he no longer can jump around with no floor to kick on. Of course, Shizune's lower kimono caught his hanging legs before he can do anything with them. Again, oh shit, making sounds is tiring, and with Shizune's current excitement, it seems she will only treat it as him saying something positive, and thus, this time he tried to struggle by shaking his head left and right at the same time. His hands that previously hugged Shizune now went to her breasts and grabbed both to pry them open. The softness of these breasts stunned him though, as Naruto cannot do anything but squeeze a little, and with that single action, any plan to get some air dissipated from his mind. Back in his previous world, this act of him might look like a perverted action. But here, oh Naruto, I know that you said that you accept all of my flaws, but to move your face so excitedly in the middle of my ugliest part and grabbing both, why you're making me feel so flattered. Lust, desire, he cannot smell it, but he can still feel it as Shizune's movement become more lustful as her breathing becomes more ragged. Of course, her grip on him also becomes much tighter than before, so much that he gains a few black spots in his sight. Is this how I am going to die? Naruto asks softly inside his mind. Inside a soft and warm embrace from a mature and very beautiful woman who's kissing the top of his crown and molesting his body with her sleeve-covered hands? It's not a bad way to die, his mind immediately concluded, and with that conclusion in his mind, Naruto's eyes closed as he lost consciousness from the lack of air. Later, when Naruto came to, he felt a little groggy. But, groggy or not, he still knows that he is laying on his back, tucked under a blanket, on a soft bed that he knows is not his from its smell alone. But then again, he can be wrong, because this scent he's smelling probably coming from a burning aroma of incense set up somewhere inside the room. And then, he opened his eyes. It's not his room. His mind immediately concluded. His room is a room befitting of royalty, but this room he's in actually looks like a simple bedroom without any private properties, as if the owner rarely sleeps here. For a few seconds he blinked. He feels something warm and pleasant on his groin area. Despite his body that's strangely still feeling sluggish despite he's already woke up, Naruto forced his left hand to grab the blanket covering him and threw it to the side. His eyes widened the moment he saw what was making him feel so pleasant down there, followed by his face that became red in no time. Lemon warning, it was Shizune. The woman is lying on her stomach while her beautiful face is on his groin, and from what he can see, his penis is inside her mouth, locked by those sexy lips of hers. He is naked, he just realized. Plop. Naruto, you woke up? You were sleeping so deeply inside my embrace. I never knew you would feel so secure inside my bosom, but I am really glad that you did. It makes me very happy. When Shizune saw him awake, she stopped what she was doing with a plopping sound and sat between his legs, though her hand still not stopping and merely continues to caress every part of his body that she could reach. Unlike him, Shizune is still fully clothed. Shazu. SSSH. Before Naruto can say anything, the woman was quick to move and cupped his cheek with her sleeved hand. A lone thumb of hers went to his mouth and silenced him. You don't need to say anything else. I'll take care of everything and do it as gently as possible, alright? Do what? Still with a soft thumb over his mouth. Naruto can only widen his eyes is right on top of him. Shizune used her free hand to untie the obi holding her kimono, loosening all of the silky fabric at once at the same time and showing him that underneath all of those layers is a beautiful and sexy body of a fully trained Kunoichi. Unlike what he thought at first, Shizune actually doesn't wear a bra under all of her kimono layers, though she does wear a black panty that is currently drenched with her love juice, so drenched that some even dripped on his thighs. But still, as a healthy boy, his eyes can't help but be transfixed at the bare breasts jiggling right on top of him, hovering tantalizingly, their pink tips poking out cutely. Naruto. When Shizune called him, Naruto's neck immediately snapped as his gaze returned to her face with cheeks aflame with embarrassment. Fortunately or not, the sexy woman on top of him seemed to misunderstand his gaze. I know you accepted my flaws and accepted every part of me, including these large meats. Shizune let her body sway left and right, an action that made the two lumps of meat in question move hypnotically because of her movement. Naruto's eyes returned to her breasts almost immediately, but they're still ugly and I don't want you to see them when we're doing it, so I was wondering, would you be alright if I tie your whole body against mine and I close my kimono back? That way it'll be dark enough that you won't be able to see my ugly body. Naruto loves to snuggle against her bosom, but usually the ugly sight of her bare bosom is hidden under her kimono. She doesn't want him to see such ugly sight when she's riding him for all his worth. Realizing where Shizune's idea come from, Naruto opened his mouth to rebuke the fact that he only liked to snuggle against covered breasts, though he closed his lips. Almost instantly, she wants to tie him against her body, closed back her kimono with him still inside and then do dirty things with him? That's facing hot. Silently, Naruto nodded, an action that makes Shizune's face aflame with red as the desire in her eyes multiplied. Alright, let me do this first. Took out a handkerchief and a bottle of something from her sleeve. On top of him, Shizune is spraying the cloth with a raging breath, seemingly impatient. Of course, as she needs two hands to do it, his mouth now can move freely. What's that? Heard his question. Shizune let out a smile, and after she finished spraying the cloth with a mysterious chemical, she spread the cloth and slipped it into her cleavage. Maybe she was doing it with chakra, but when Shizune's two hands grabbed her own breasts and spread them, Naruto is left stunned because the white cloth didn't fall. Actually, not only the cloth didn't fall, the black cloth actually stuck against the inner part of her breasts, like a second skin. And it's wet and smells good too. It's just a sheet so your face doesn't need to meet my skin directly. Naruto, and please be assured, it is made from a very high-class material. I bought this cloth with 3 months of my salary. T3 month? 1 million Rio? Wait, that's not what he wanted to ask. He was asking about the things she sprayed on the cloth in question. However, before he can even say anything, Shizune already leaning down on him with her breasts being spread open, The wetness of the black cloth only gives the woman another point for sex in us. And then, plump asterisk, a pair of breasts descended and swallowed his head in one gulp, darkening his sight and forcing him to smell a very overpowering scent of perfume that made his body feel hotter and hotter with each second. Realizing too late that the thing she sprayed on is in fact an aphrodisiac, Naruto tried to struggle to get free. Alas, when he was busy snuggling Shizune's breasts, the woman already tied his legs behind her waist, and his hands on her back with a very long scarf. MNN, you're pretty quick to get a hard on. Naruto a little bit muffled, but Naruto can still hear the words spoken by Shizune. And then warmth. As his penis smoothly went inside Shizune's wet and warm cavern, he stopped all resistance he was doing just now. More so when another warmth covers his body as Shizune wrapped her kimono back once again. It took Shizune a few minutes before, in the end, he is all snugly tied up inside her kimono and being pressed by softness from all sides. Bed on his back, layered by Shizune's clothing that literally bundled him in the softness of several layers of silk. Shizune's body is on his front, and from all of the bindings she did, their body is basically mashing with each other. The aphrodisiac he smells amplified the pleasure he feels by several times, and the darkness makes him cannot think of any other thing but the pleasure his body currently feels, mostly the pleasure he feels in his groin as Shizune's vagina's in her wall squeezes him ever gently as if impatience for the movement that is yet to come. It's warm, slimy, wet, and it'll start now, Naruto-kun. Movement before Naruto can even finish his lust-filled thought. The woman on top of him started to move her waist up and down after her hands embraced him over her kimono, pulling him even deeper into her flesh. Smack, smack, smack. There is no gentleness whatsoever in her movement, and being bound he is. Naruto can only let out a muffled pleasant grunt every time Shizune's waist meets with his. Men on Naruto-sama, it feels so good even though he was the one who got drugged. Naruto can't help but feel surprised by Shizune's wetness. It seems she came several times already, and yet, smack, smack, smack instead of stopping, the woman seems to get faster and faster in each second, so much that soon the bed is creaking rather badly under them. Soon Naruto feels it, the building excitement in his lower body. Having a mouthful of aphrodisiac-scented cloth on his face and very soft meat all around his head. Naruto cannot say anything to Shizune as any sound he made will only be muffled by the cloth and the breasts caging his face and head. Manually then, with his very limited movement, Naruto's hands tied behind Shizune grabbed her back, his nails digging the woman's back in a pleasant scratch that made her start moaning in ecstasy. Fortunately for him, Shizune seemed to know what to do, as immediately, she grabbed him by his buttock and started to pound him even harder and faster than before. And soon he came followed by Shizune that seemed to have another ejaculation of hers. But, still bound inside Shizune's kimono, Naruto blinked his eyes several times when the woman atop him fell, pressing all of her weight against him and making him cannot move at all. His groin and butt feel wet, so much wet that he knows that no woman should be able to let out that much and still be healthy. Minhoon. Shizune, this is what he wanted to say, but with the woman's breasts still on his face and some cloth getting into his mouth, the word easily became muffled. Shizune, did she pass out, somehow? Well, it won't surprise him if she does. He cannot see it, but with the feeling on his groin and butt alone, he knows that his assistant could make a small puddle with how much love juice she let out. Still, how to get free from this position? 'Cause even passed out, Shizune is still embracing his body very tight, and even without that, the scarf binding his legs and hands is not something he could untie by himself. It was then he feels it even with the body passed out. Shizune's vagina seems to realize that his penis is still inside and starts to move once again, massaging it very gently with a movement akin to breathing. It feels nice. For a minute, Naruto tried to wiggle out of the position only to get nothing. Not only that, but he also merely made himself inhale even more aphrodisiac, which makes his body feels even hotter than before. As his soft penis became erect once again, Shizun's vagina also became aware of it and started to speed up. Engen. 5 minutes later, Naruto came, and this time his ragging breathing made him inhale more aphrodisiac, which in turn make him erect once again. Rinse and repeat. It was not until Shizun woke up hours later that Naruto in the end got released from his pleasure cage, pale, hungry, and tired. He thought it would never end, but then again it's facing nice, I'll try it later. In the future regret, there's no regret for a good fact. Sure, he didn't expect her to come so quick and so many times that her body gave up, but in the end her mind desired him so much that she unconsciously made her body milk him. Just as he said before, no regret for a god fact. He never knew sex would feel that good. Thanks for watching.